Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. It is once again Tuesday, March 10, 2026. The time is 12:53 p.m. Will the Committee on Budget please come back to order? I'd like to welcome back with us into the chamber Council Chair Waters, Councilmember Cordero, Councilmember Kia Aina, Councilmember Talba, and also welcome Council Vice Chair Tupola. Members, we will continue on with our agenda for today. The next department who will be presenting to us is the Department of Parks and Recreation. For your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 176-2026. With us, we have from the Department Director Laura Thielen, as well as Deputy Director Kehawa Pu'u. Aloha and good afternoon, Director Thielen.
Aloha, council members. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity today to present our fiscal year 27 budget. I have with me today, in addition to Deputy Director Kehaulani Pu'u, the administrators for the 4 divisions of the Department of Parks and Recreation: Parks, Maintenance and Recreation Services, Division of Urban Forestry, Maintenance Support Services, and the Executive Services Division. And then also with them, their main managerial staff, and they are here to answer questions that you may have. I'm going to go ahead and go into the slideshow presentation, and I will try to move through that relatively quickly with the slides that you have, because I want to make sure that my remarks are really more focused on your questions. But I will be taking a little bit of time on the budget issues, which is at the end of the slides after our capital improvement projects. So if we can go to the first slide. This slide lays out the operating budget and the changes between fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27. The only 2 items that I wanted to point out is that in addition to the equipment that you see on the operating budget, we also have an additional $1,437,040 for equipment in the CIP budget. So in comparing fiscal year 26 to 27, our CIP heavy equipment budget was less in fiscal year 26, so it works out to be kind of a wash when you combine both the operating, which is the lighter equipment, with the CIP heavy equipment. And then our position count is down 2 positions. We are adding a couple positions this year, but we eliminated 5 of the contract positions that we have, so it ended up being a small reduction. Next slide. Our vacancy count, we currently have 155 vacancies. I have put in here the status of our recruitment. So we have 25 positions that have been selected, and they are in suitability screening right now. We have an additional 46 positions that are either in the interview process or they have been selected through the mass interviews that we do for the entry-level positions, and we're working on matches, and then they'll go on into suitability. We have another 46 positions where we've received approval to fill, and we're asking for the lists for candidates, and then about 22 positions that we are looking at for reorganization to take an old position that really isn't more relevant to our operations today and change it, and then we would go through recruitment. The main point that I want to make is that if we did not have people leaving the department, we would be 100% filled, because we've been hiring in excess of 100, filling 100 positions plus each year for the last 3 years. But we have a large number of retirements as the baby boomers are moving out of the workforce. And then we also have a large number of separations that are leaving the department because it is an employee market right now. But we have a net increase each year, and we've been reducing our vacancies. And because we are filling, the number of vacancies that we have, almost all of them have been vacant for less than 3 years, anywhere from 0 to 3 years. Next slide. Here, what you have is the changes in revenue sources, and you can see these are standard revenue sources that the department has had for a significant period of time. We're only anticipating a slight increase, but we will probably talk during the Q&A period about some legislation that may be coming up that may change that in the future, but for right now, this is what we're predicting. And next slide. I did want to point out and take a slide, though, is that the department has been pretty aggressive in what I would call non-revenue contributions to the park department. What we've been doing is working a number of different sources for either improvements or contributions to support parks and gardens. The largest one that we have right now, the Department of Transportation is doing a lot of highway improvements using federal funds. And when they take a portion of parkland, they're supposed to offset that. Traditionally, the city has just basically said, okay, you can go ahead and take it. But we had a meeting with Director Ed Sniffen, and we said, you know, you have a significant number of projects on the Windward Coast and the North Shore Coast due to erosion. And each project is just affecting the park a small amount, but that adds up over time. And we asked if we could work with him on some projects on a regional basis to help offset that. And he was very supportive, for which we're appreciative. So our district has come up with a listing of projects at various Windward and North Shore parks that could use improvements, and we're negotiating those with DOT. It's approximately $10 million in value, but they would be doing the construction as part of their road work in that area. So it also would be coming in not at the expense of city staff or time. We've also put in an application for the green fee for $6.75 million for a beach nourishment project at Ala Moana Regional Park. DDC had done the permitting for that prior to COVID, but that money ended up getting used for COVID purposes. So that did get into the governor's budget that was submitted to the legislature and is being recommended by the Green Fee Commission. So hopefully that will come through the legislature. We're also working, many of you were beneficiaries in your district of the NORESCO energy savings projects, where we made sure that in addition to energy saving, they were also doing park improvements. So we had put in about $40 million worth of park improvements with the help of NORESCO over, I think, about a 2-year period. So we're working on phase 2, negotiating another round of park improvements. It won't be quite as large, but it will be still significant. And then AES out in Kahuku, $5 million for design and construction for some improvements to Kahuku District Park. And then I have a number of other items there that is listed, but the main one I want to point out is it's hard to quantify the actual value, but it's our Adopt a Park program. We have a significant number of volunteers coming into our parks, and then also a huge number of volunteers coming into our botanical gardens that are helping to activate areas and then providing a significant amount of in-kind contributions. So I think the value is probably well above $500,000 in a given year, but it is pretty significant. And all these things are taking a fair amount of staff time to be supporting and monitoring. Next slide. This does have our overtime, and this is broken out by division. And in the case of some of the divisions, because we have different sections in them that are large, we broke it out further. For example, Division of Urban Forestry is broken out with the botanical gardens and horticultural services. Our overtime is a little bit difficult to predict year to year because there is a significant amount of our overtime that is in response to emergency events. You may see many of the managers behind me working their phones. Right now, we are trying to coordinate for shelter, which our recreational staff will provide at various park buildings, and also debris management, which our urban forestry and our maintenance support services will be addressing with their heavy equipment. So when there are events like this storm that's coming in, we're having to put everybody on call and then probably doing work that is on an overtime basis. And then also unscheduled overtime may be in response to vandalism or infrastructure breaks to things like water or sewer in parks that need to be addressed immediately for health and safety concerns just due to age. Next slide. Federal current expenses is mainly our food for the summer fun program. Next slide. And then we have 3 slides of capital improvement projects. If you go through this one, the next slide, and the next slide. We can answer questions. We have the Department of Design and Construction, which is managing these projects, is here with us today, so we can take questions on that. But if you can go to the next slide, here's where I'd like to talk about our budget issues. So these are the requests that we made on top of our regular operating budget. The first one is Ho'omaluhia Botanical Gardens. We're asking for an additional nursery worker there. Ho'omaluhia has 9 maintenance staff that are there, and they have 700,000 people coming in per year. So we would like to add to that. This would be giving them one staff. We are in the process right now, thanks to the funds that the council and the administration provided for Ho'omalahia a couple years ago, going through a long-range and capital improvement plan for Ho'omalahia. And so that is taking a look at revenue generation opportunities and also staffing. So in the future, we will likely be coming back with a bigger plan for Ho'omalahia, but for this year, at a minimum, to just get the additional position in would be a tremendous help. Then the next two items is what I'd like to spend some time on. A couple years ago, you folks supported us with a funding for an asset management professional services contract to take a look at the Department of Parks and Recreation roofs at our buildings. We are asking for two things to continue the asset management work. The first is funding to be able to do phase 2, which is to take a look at our lighting. Many of you receive a lot of complaints and requests from your constituents to increase lighting at park, to fix broken lightings at park. And these are the lightings that are in the parking lots, the outdoor courts, the athletic fields, the lights that are basically on large poles. We need to identify where these lights are, take a look at the foundations, because in some cases the lights have fallen over because the foundations are not secure, which is really a big public safety issue. And we also want to take a look at the electrical load that the park is capable of handling, because too often we're going into a CIP project and we're finding out we cannot do the capital improvement without working with HECO first to increase the load coming into the park, and that is delaying some of our CIP projects by about 2 years. And so if we can have this inventory of our park's electricity capacity, as well as the light fixtures, that would help us work on these lighting projects a lot better. We would be working with DDC and DFM to come up with the scope of contract for the professional services inventory of the lighting to make sure that the information that we get from the contractor is going to meet all three departments' needs. And then the second item is a software license. The work on the roofing inventory is basically a database, but it's not in a manageable database. And so we need to drop that into a software system. We are working with DIT, and we've identified a software system that is used by another city department already that our staff feel it meets our needs. And the system will also manage not just the scheduling for the asset management repairs and CIP, it can also handling the work scheduling for our basic work orders and even for our grounds maintenance work. And so this would allow us, as we transition to a software system for managing scheduling, to be able to provide a lot more information to you council members about the costs by park, by types of jobs, and then project our future needs to be able to better meet the needs for maintenance. And then the last item for maintenance support services, as you folks know, we transitioned MSS back into a division, which it had been years ago, but it had been downgraded to a section within the Parks Department. And we've been working over the last 3 years for the Maintenance Support Services Division to be able to take on minor capital improvements, which is authorized under the city charter in a change that was made back in 2016. So MSS is going to need some assistance at times from engineering services, but we don't think it's worthwhile to really hire engineers. They're very hard to fill positions, and we do not want to compete with the departments like DDC, ENV, Board of Water Supply, that really need the engineers full-time. And so what we would be looking at is a consulting contract where we could be able to pull in engineering services from a firm to assist us on a project-by-project basis as needed. And then the last item is to dedicate the transient accommodation tax that was identified for parks and resources into the MSS work program, which is projected to be at $8.9 million for fiscal year 27. Now, I know that we have had, under the last few years, working with you folks on council-by-council projects for MSS, but what I want to go into now is why we need to pivot in the upcoming fiscal year 27. So if we can go to the next slide. This slide is giving you information that we have in the asset management professional services contracts that we did that did the assessment on all the roofs on the Department of Parks and Recreation buildings. At the time we entered into the contract, we thought we had 400 roofs, 400 buildings. It turns out we have 500, so we are trying to extend that contract to get the last 100 roofs done and assessed. But what you can see here is I picked out one park from each council district just so you can see something representative. These are comfort stations, but the roofing evaluation, what they did is they pulled the plans for every single building where we had the plans. They pulled the repair and maintenance or restoration records affecting that roof where we had those records. And roof by roof, they went out and they did an inspection of each roof, going up onto the roof and taking a look at the condition. And then they said, here's the timetable of when you need to be replacing this roof. And each roof is ranked from 1 to 5, with 5 being the worst. The roofs range from a gymnasium, fairly large buildings, to as small as maybe a pavilion at a park. So it's a real range of the types of roofs. But here you can see these roofs are all either condemned in the first case or been ranked as a 5, where they need to be replaced within the next 5 years, if not sooner. Next slide. So out of the 400 roofs that were assessed, 129 need to be replaced within the next 5 years. And what you see on the table here is out of those 129 is broken out by council district, the number of buildings in your districts where the roofs need to be replaced within the next 5 years. And I'm going to give an example of why this is important to be addressing the roofs immediately. We had a gymnasium in Pololo District Park, where the roof was leaking, like many of our gymnasiums. And so the city went through a design process, which often takes 2 to 3 years to complete, and then it went through bidding out for construction. And by the time the construction company went out and got up on top of the roof, they said the leaking is so bad, it has affected the structural integrity of the walls. We cannot go up there and replace that roof. So then we have to go back and do another design for addressing the structural issues, and then bid that out and go through the structural construction and then the roofing construction. If you do not address a roof in a timely manner, and you have this leaking going on, it is going to compromise the building structure, and it's going to compromise the contents inside the building. And in a case of the things like a gymnasium, that's going to be really expensive, because your wood floors, once they buckle, you're going to have to replace those. And so the timeliness is really important, because if we had been able to go into Pololo in year 1 and replace the roof, the cost of later on and coming in and addressing other things inside the gym would have been significantly less, because you would have stopped the leaking at the timetable. So we really need to pivot. This information just came in. We are going to be sitting down in between now and the start of fiscal year 27 and taking a look at that list of 129 roofs. And we're going to be identifying which are the most used buildings, which are the buildings that have the contents in them that are going to be more expensive if we don't fix the leaks immediately, which are the buildings that have structural issues that perhaps we need to make sure DDC is involved in any repair, and which of the buildings can we go in with a roofing contract and just replace it and stabilize the building, basically, and be able to address other issues down the line. The building that you're looking at in this picture is the Betcher Estate, which is at Kalama Beach Park in Kailua. So we do have master agreements that we are able to move in relatively quickly. So again, I'm going to give you another illustration. Alawai, Chair Waters, is in your district. That is also a historic building, a shingle roof. Has been in design for some time to fix that. In Betcher Estate, what we found out is that the state library had worked with SHPD to get a very rapid approval to replace a roof using the same materials. So we did a similar letter to SHPD with the assistance of Glenn Mason, the historic architect, And we said we just want to replace the shingles with the same material and then deal with the underlying compromised roof to make sure the structure is sound and we can stop the leaking in the building. We got permission from SHPD relatively quickly. The roof is under construction now with our master agreement, and it should be completed. Hopefully the storm is not going to create more issues, but it should be completed by this summer or earlier. Next slide. So when you look at the $8.9 million being added into the MSS current expenses budget for the work program, I'm providing you folks with a 10-year trend of what the balance of that program is. In fiscal year 20, there was a bit of an anomaly because they did put in the money for the Ala Moana Beach Restoration, Beach Nourishment Program, which was about $10 to $12 million. So that $15 million was dedicated for that one project, but that ended up not going out. But you can see the base budget for MSS, and this is all current expenses. It's not just the work program. It's also the supplies, materials, and small equipment for the plumbers, the masons, the carpenters, and everybody else, has been in about $3.5 to $3.9 million. Starting in about fiscal year 23, we were able to tap into the FRF ARPA COVID relief federal monies that was coming in, and 23, 24, 25 also be taking in a number of CDBG projects. And that's when you saw a huge increase in the number of projects that MSS was able to do. The backlog is bigger. We have not eliminated it. That roofing asset management contract is telling you 30% of our buildings need their roofs replaced within 5 years. But this was a very bright light of what we were able to do. In fiscal year 26, as much of those federal monies dried up, you saw the number went down. And without that $8.9 million of TAT, it would be down again below $3 million a year. So we need to take that $8.9 million in the TAT for the work program and really start working on the roofs. Next slide. And then what you'll see here is, how can we do that many roofs? So I'm providing you with a listing of the projects that MSS was able to complete between fiscal year 23 and 25 with the master agreements. So over 40 roof jobs were replaced, 33 separate parks for a little over $11 million. Some of these were very small roofs, again, a comfort station, a pavilion, maybe a 1 week, 2 week construction job. With additional time for the paperwork. Some of them, though, were fairly large projects. Booth District Park, Kaneohe District Park, I think several others as well, where they replaced the gymnasium roof, maybe the pool buildings, the accessory buildings, projects that were probably about $1 to $1.4 million apiece. So we think MSS does have the capacity to be able to tackle a lot of these jobs, maybe not get to the 30 in the first year, but we need to work our way up both ourselves in organizing how we process this work, as well as with our contractors that are under the master agreements. But we think that with your support in fiscal year 27, we can start working in an asset management approach, at least for the roofs of our buildings, and then be more prepared going into fiscal year 28 and beyond. Last slide. And then just one of my favorite pictures is just as a reminder. I've been talking a lot about roofs and other things, but really I want to thank all of you because you have been supporting the Parks Department over the last 5 years with a number of budget issues that have allowed us to methodically sequence in doing a lot more work for the people of Oahu. We know that you get a lot of the requests from your constituents, and you are keenly aware of the importance of parks and gardens in the lives of our residents. And a lot of times, we talk about what it takes to keep people here on Oahu and not move away, and housing and cost of living certainly is very, very up in the forefront. But bringing joy into their lives, keeping joy in their lives is also important, and that's where we come in. So thank you again for your support, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Director Thielen, for that presentation. Before we go to questions, just like to welcome and recognize to the Chamber, Chair Waters, Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, and Council Members Tyler Dos Santos Tam and Council Member Wire. We'll start off our questions this first round with Council Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. I'm not fully prepared, but I will focus on the TT, and then maybe I'll talk about some district projects later. So, Director, thank you for your presentation. I do have some concerns with regard to your usage of the TAT because, it was supposed to be impact on natural resources as a result of tourism. I don't know if roofs qualify. Um, maybe parking lot improvements, et cetera. But can I just ask some basic questions? Because I did ask the BFS director with regard to the vetting process. Um, Last year, there was a communications, admin communications with regard to the list of TAT projects. Do we have that list available, or is it built into the budget?
We do have a list of projects that was built into the requests that we put in to you folks, and the TAT is for recreation and natural resources. Roofs don't sound like recreation and natural resources, but when we have to close or condemn a building that provides support or opportunities for recreation, then it does very much impact them. So we have a listing of projects that include some roofs,
Yes.
some ball fields, some other things as well. That we had worked with BFS to come up with the 8.9.
And where is that?
Sorry, we can get the information to you, but I think what I was trying to convey today is we just got the first draft of that roofing report. I think we need to go back and reassess that list because we may need to prioritize more jobs to keep facilities open. Now, in your district, as you know, not addressing the comfort station at Waimanalo Beach Park for so many years has led that comfort station to be condemned.
Yes,
so that's the kind of thing we want to avoid.
Yes, I understand, but I don't know if that was the intention of this fund. And I feel that maybe we could have better communications on this because the provision that we inserted also said that it was not supposed to be used for base funding. I just feel that this is base funding. And I don't know if you're thinking that this is in perpetuity, this is how it's going to be used. Is that what your intention is? Because if that is your intention, that was not the intention of putting the provision in.
No, Councilwoman, that is not. And so this is a separate allocation. So far, what the administration has been doing is allocating it annually based on the recommendations that were coming in from the various departments. And so this year, the determination was made to, because we had the ability under the master agreements to make a significant number of improvements to these recreational spaces, to support moving forward with those, because we could get traction and see improvements get completed in a short period of time.
No, I understand that. I just hope that this is not going to be perpetual. And I'm willing to look at it. I still have concerns. And then just two comments. I know that you guys put in money for climate resiliency. I do have concerns of you guys taking funds out of the CDBG. That's no secret. I've expressed it before because you have your own sliver of funds right now, although I believe other departments are also eligible for this TAT funding. So I just wanted to express concerns to you with regard to your utility of CDBG. No one disagrees, again, with the merit of projects. It's the source of funding that you're using. And I also want to reiterate my interest in working with your team. I talked to the Climate Change Office. Maybe since they do a lot of these types of cooperative agreements, they might work with you. But I've stated to you that I have been in contact with DOD's REPI program, who is interested in a non-competitive funding stream that could be up to 5 years. It's another avenue of funding, and you guys clearly need another funding. So I just want to reiterate my desire. I've already shared a model cooperative agreement with some of your staff, and maybe we can work with the Climate Change Office in moving it forward.
We would look forward to that.
And no other questions at the moment. I'll let my other colleagues ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kiana. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Director. I noticed in the presentation there wasn't any mention of the Parks and Playground Fund. Can you talk about how the department plans to utilize those monies in the coming year? And then broadly, kind of your impression of how that program is working overall?
So the Parks and Playground Fund, for those of you, I think you probably are all aware, but it is funding that comes in from developers that instead of providing a contribution to a park improvement or land, would be putting funding or dollars into an account. We did take a look at whether those accounts could be used for large repair and maintenance, and the read that we got back from the Corporation Council is it's intended for capital improvement projects. So what that happens is the monies are kept in an account, and if there is a CIP that is adjacent or near that region, then that money can go on in to supplement the CIP budget. When I took a look at it and I took a look at the cost of CIP projects, I realized an account that has $35,000 in it is not worth starting a multi-million-dollar CIP project for. So if the account had something like $1 million in it, or maybe even $250,000, we would look at a CIP. So we are initiating a CIP in, I think it's McCully District Park, the building that's known as the Japanese School, because there was $1 million in that fund. So the money can only go to construction, not the design. So we would be fronting as a city the design costs, but we're going to try and come up with a CIP project that is in that neighborhood or not much more. One game changer that may be happening, though, is the purchasing office worked with us this year, and we now have available a national design build playground contract. And so we are putting in a playground at Nehu Community Park, and then we're also looking at one at Kaupuni, which were in the budgets previously. And so the Parks and Playground money may be worthwhile to go back and revisit for that contract. It can do playgrounds, adult exercise equipment, shade structures, a variety of things like that. And so that does make things a lot simpler because it is a design build process. And we are learning how to use it because it's a little bit different under these national contracts than our typical MA. But we put together an interdivisional team in our department, and I think by the time we hit our third playground, they're going to have it down.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember DeSantis-Tam. Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo, Director, for meeting and diving into some of the specifics. So I think today, one of the questions that's come up in discussion, and I'm hoping maybe you can provide some insight. So I know we have the Adopt a Park program, we have the People's Open Market program, and I think one issue we're working through in the community is looking at a bunch of city-owned land, some as parks, some maybe is in other inventory, some unimproved, right? And so I guess my question is just in terms of if you could provide any insight in terms of a path forward of ways we can better activate these city parcels. And it doesn't really fit cleanly with any existing program in my mind. Maybe it does, but there are many community groups and organizations interested in activating land, doing cultural activities, agricultural activities, which I think is also a value add to the city. Because I mean, just take Velzy land, for example, like one cleanup is what, I think a couple $100,000, give or take. And I know across the island, I mean, particularly our district, but I think everyone deals with it. You see dumping, illegal activity, whatnot on various parcels. And so I think the activation, even if it does create somewhat of a burden or a little bit of due diligence and work, the activation and providing someone or giving someone access to provide stewardship and management, I think does across the board uplift the community, but then also reduce costs on the city. And so I just wondered if you could comment on that, any progress or ongoing discussions, and then even what maybe something along those lines could look like in terms of where inventory should be placed, because I know there's multiple departments, so just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you, Councilman. So one of the reasons I had that slide about non-revenue contributions is to just showcase the number of agreements we have been making with communities and organizations to further activate areas that are currently either undeveloped or unactivated. So during COVID, during the shutdown, we worked with the Corporation Council because it was kind of silly under the old Adopt a Park program, which the department had stopped. a group would come on in and say, we want to do work here. And then they would have to write an agreement. They'd have to have it reviewed by the Corporation Council. And, 6 months, 8 months later, the group, may or may not still be around. There's an agreement. We pre-approved a bunch of standard agreements, and we've been expanding that list. So we have pre-approved agreements for improved parks. We have pre-approved agreements for unimproved areas. We will work with organizations under standard things where you can just check the box and walk out the door with the agreement. Or if you want to customize and tailor it for something a little bit different, we can do that too. We've had fairly large contributions coming in from organizations, and we've come up with specific memorandums of agreement for them. And that ranges from an organization that may be offering classes through the park department at a park facility, that they're serving the public and an additional group of people that we would otherwise not be serving, or it may be taking an unimproved area and putting an improvement on it. And then we have a lot of groups where they may want the adopted park agreement, they may not, but they're just doing improvements to areas that the public are using that are unimproved. Cool Lake Cliffs, Cocoa Crater Stairs. We were out at Sandy Beach the other day. We have some people out in Haleiwa. So we definitely are doing that in a lot of places. Now, depending on what the group wants to do, if it's these kinds of things that we're doing, keeping it in the park inventory works. But if there's a commercial aspect, if there's a kind of an exclusionary aspect to it, if there's a little bit more of an ownership flavor of it, that doesn't work on park lands because parks have common law protections on the land where there's certain things that we cannot do. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis, but we're building our inventory of memorandum of agreement that we're able to pass over to people, and so they can take a look at how it works in other areas.
I appreciate that. Just quick follow-up. Because when you're talking about, because I'd assume like, say unimproved parkland, there generally is already limited access. So maybe could you just dive into a little bit more like where an agreement would cross over from parks inventory to the type of individual activity that would make it kind of a different setup?
Maybe an organization where, so let's say we have a building at Dole Community Park, and that building used to have a daycare at it, and somehow it's ended up over in the park inventory. They're gone. We have a group that's come on in that was the Aloha Shed, and they were a member group that would do woodworking projects. And so they wanted to know, because they were losing their other facility, could they move into Dole Community Park? So we had a lot of conversations with them, and they kept saying, well, we're a membership group, we're open to the public, but they could kind of decide, oh, could you become a member or could you not? You know, and I may not, I like him better. And so we worked through with them and said, if you want to be in a park, it has to be open to the general public. And so, they did have legitimate concerns. We have woodworking equipment. We can't just let anybody walk in and use a bandsaw because they could cut off their arm. So we just said, okay, you've got to have an ability for somebody to come in from the public where you have classes for them where they could work their skill set up to be able to use this. So what would be the classes that you would provide to the public? So after a lot of conversation about this, the group decided they did want to move in there. So they are offering woodworking classes to the public, and there's kind of different levels, and then you can, get to a point, and you may have that skill set when you walk in the door, and they would assess where you could work in their open shop time. But it's being offered under the park department on our website as classes that are free and open to the public. So there's not that, they were willing to let go of, we want to pick and choose. If you want to pick and choose, then that's really not a park type of operation.
I appreciate that. So say you're doing ag activities, like farming. Where would that fall?
I think that would probably fall in a different department than the park department.
Okay.
Now, we do have things like community garden, and we do have, other things that we can do. But again, an ag activity is generally a person or an organization that is growing something that they are then going to transfer out either for a fee or for, some type of program or service or whatever. That's not a typical park, that would be a lot of nuances that we'd have to sit down and work through, with the corporation council. But I think it would really be, there would be a lot of things that would end up kind of contorting the operation, maybe beyond what the folks would want to do.
Yeah, and sorry, Chair, this is the only subject. I won't have any more questions. I'll wrap it up soon. But I guess just to kind of wrap up, is I think what we're thinking, like, okay, if you have a nonprofit that is wanting to do, say, hypothetically, like Lo'ikalo, do community groups, do student groups, they're stewarding the land, they're doing ag, maybe they are passing that off. Like, do you see a pathway in the conversations that are being had amongst departments to kind of achieve that end in terms of making land accessible for cultural activities in a way that I think is in between? It's not quite a community garden, right? That's a little bit more of a unique setup than folks having their plot and then showing up at a park space and then going home and whatnot.
I'd say that depends on what the organization wants. In some cases, we will have people doing cultural activities and education and other things in a park. But in other cases, it may tip over. So for that example I gave on the Aloha Shed, if it was more important to them to kind of control certain aspects beyond just the membership, it may not have worked, and it may have been more suitable for them to be located on a different property. So it really does get down to the details. I think if the city wants to get into the business of looking at leasing lands out to nonprofit organizations for their operations without having these types of restrictions, it's better to take it out of the park department and put it into a different inventory.
Okay, it's like $1 a year lease in DHLM or something like that, maybe. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Councilmember Toba.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Director. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone sitting here from your department. I really appreciate what you guys do. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you for meeting with me, going over your budget with me, and just talking about ideas on how you and Councilmember Tupola are going over ways that we can raise funds in our parks, through sponsorship, so that we can help, with finding ways to help improve our parks without, finding other ways to find money. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Toba. Vice Chair Nishimoto.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just have one kind of clarification I want. That NORESCO contract you guys kind of talked about, the energy savings performance contract, that's for energy and water.
Yes.
Okay. I guess it was put in place in 22?
The contract
22?
had been approved, so when I came in the door in 2021, calendar year 2021, the contract was in place, and the department at that point was negotiating what would be the list of energy-saving projects.
Okay, so how does it work? I don't quite understand how it works.
If we need some more detailed information, I'm just giving advance notice. I may call Dori Amano Mitsui up because she's been managing the details of the contract. But basically, under the contract, the company, and I think Johnson Controls is doing an energy-saving project as well for lighting. We just picked a different vendor, NORESCO. The company would come up with a list of projects. They would then have to show how much savings would be generated from this project over the course of a 20-year period so that it would be cost efficient for the city over time. So for instance, we changed out a lot of our toilets to low flow toilets. We changed out a number of other things. We changed out lighting to LED. And so what they had to do was do an actual analysis on, in each case, what was the energy usage and the energy bill under the current fixture, and what would be the savings under the new fixture. In cases where we did that type of maintenance, we continue to do the maintenance. But in cases where it is a specialized item that we do not do the maintenance, the contract does include them doing the maintenance. They also provided extensive training to our staff to be able to learn how to use and repair and operate the new types of fixtures.
So the contract, how do they get paid? I guess what is the structure of the contract?
So I think Dory should get ready to start coming up, but this is an ongoing payment, plus they have to do the ongoing providing information to the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services on the expenses. But I do have Ms.
All right.
Amano Mitsui here who could answer more questions if you
Sounds
would like.
good. Why don't you come up? So, hi, good afternoon. So how does NORESCO get paid? Or like, what is the structure of the contract?
So basically, we have an operation and maintenance
All right,
contract
Director,
that
just for reporting purposes, if those who have come to the microphone, if you could state your name, Olela's asking for that just for reporting purposes before you proceed to speak. Thank you.
Department of Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
So we actually pay them for the next 20 years, and it's an operations and maintenance contract. It's actually in our line item as well. It's about $700 and something thousand.
So, well, I was gonna bring that up. So I saw that line item. That's the maintenance fee? The seven?
It includes maintenance, but it was part of the contract for the 20 years.
Okay, so what I found was there's a line item for 3.32 million for lease payments on the contract.
Correct.
So that's part of the 20-year contract.
So that's not to pay for the, that's not the NORESCO payment.
Okay.
That's to pay for the First Hawaiian Bank leasing. So what happened was, once we were able to show that we could get guaranteed savings by doing X amount of projects,
Okay.
we used that report to get financing, which we got through First Hawaiian Bank, and it came out to 3.2 million for the next 20 years
To finance the projects that they want done.
that we chose to do. Correct.
That you chose to do. So,
Correct. That came out to about 40 million.
So how much do we pay them?
Pay the First
Pay
Hawaiian Bank.
NORESCO.
We paid the operation and maintenance is 700 something thousand.
Okay, that's 774.
Yes.
Okay, and then there's also a $38,000 payment for measurement and verification. What is that?
So we do that annually so NORESCO has to do it to prove that the savings that they guaranteed us are still coming to fruition. If the savings are not showing as they promised, they pay us.
The savings is, okay, so they pay us if it's not to a certain level.
Correct.
Okay, what is that level? I mean, like what is the level of savings they have to show us?
We would have to go back into the. Oh yeah, no, it's more than the seven. It's quite a bit, but we would have to go back to the reports. The reports itself is about 2,500 pages.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just
So we
trying
don't have it offhand. Sorry.
I don't quite understand this. I'm just trying to
Sure.
kind of figure it out.
So, Councilman, I guess the bottom line is that the amount of money that we're paying them must be less than the savings that we have in our electricity and our water bill.
Right. Well, I'm just
And so the thing is that you don't see necessarily the electricity and water rebates in our budget because that's in the BFS budget. So they're the ones that are consolidating the information, and they're verifying that the payments that are going out to NORESCO and First Hawaiian Bank are less than the savings that we have in electrical and water, what we would have been paying but for these improvements.
So BFS could tell us how much we're actually saving after we pay the 774 to NORESCO. They would be able to say, okay, we're actually got a windfall of this.
Yes, BFS should be able to have that information for both the NORESCO contract and the Johnson Controls contract.
Okay, so, because when I dig into your electricity and water, the electricity has gone down, which is great. The water has gone up like 50%. So, one, I'm wondering why the water went up 50%. And two, what is NORESCO doing to help us with that?
So if I can show. So you have to look at the usage, actually not at the actual cost.
Okay.
So we look at our usage for the last 2 or 3 years. We actually show a decrease in our usage in both water and electricity.
Okay.
So if we did no improvements, we will be paying a whole lot more. But Board of Water as well as HECO both had rate increases.
So that 50% is just all rate increases. Your usage stays the same, but their price went up.
HECO and Board of Water, correct. But we actually have shown, we have all the reports. We show a decrease At the 49 parks that we did in phase 1, there's actually a decrease in water usage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Nishimuro. Chair Waters.
Thank you so much. Aloha, Director. Just looking at generally, I had a couple of general questions and then a couple of questions relating to my district. So generally, your budget is increasing about $5.6 million over last year's budget, correct?
Generally, yes.
Okay. You know, the Budget and Fiscal Services yesterday was saying that each department was taking cuts. Can you explain to us where your department is taking cuts? As far as I can tell, it just looks like you're reducing equipment by $281,000. But is there any place else that the department is taking cuts?
Yes, in the salaries. So what you're seeing in the change of salaries is about $517,000. Again, the change in salaries would have been significantly more than $517,000 with the collective bargaining increases. But because we've taken a cut in the salaries of about 5%, roughly, which is that number, the $3.5 million that you guys saw, what you're seeing is only a slight increase.
I see. Is that from well, where is that money coming from? From vacant positions or lapsed funding?
So as the budget director went over this yesterday, what they did is they basically lowered the ceiling of the amount of funding that would be in the department. We can continue to go ahead and hire. I was one of the directors that advocated don't freeze specific positions, because the problem for our department is we're filling, but pukas come up and we can't predict where they're going to come up. So we need to be able to address where the critical needs are as they arise over the course of the year. It's easier for us to be told, okay, you have maybe a 5% reduction in the total amount that you can spend on salaries. Us and BFS are going to have to be more on top of the pay that's going out as we fill the positions. But I think that allows us to keep hiring and to be able to fill where needed as the pukas arise.
That's fantastic. So in other words, you and the other department heads have the ability to use salaries in general terms to fill the positions that you need to fill while still seeing savings overall. Fantastic. Next, dealing with lapsed funds. I'm just looking at the fiscal year 2025. It looks like your department lapsed about $10.4 million. Ground maintenance was a large part of that, $5.7 million. Looks like recreation services, $2.4 million. Do you anticipate lapsing these types of money going forward? I know every department says, no, we're going to spend it, but you know, just trying to figure out where we can find savings.
So I think a couple things happened in fiscal year 25. On the equipment side, we had gotten our equipment list in early because we know it takes quite a while to get everything through purchasing. Unfortunately, purchasing had decided to hold on processing some things in order to be able to get multiple departments with similar equipment in so that they could bid it out in bulk, thinking that they would get a better return on the price. What happened, though, is in trying to get too many things through at the last minute, a number of things lapsed on the equipment side. We did talk with purchasing, and they've noted that desired price reduction didn't really happen. So they said in fiscal year 26, they're not going to hold. They're just going to be pushing things through as they get it out. So that's very helpful. I am, fingers crossed, we do not see that type of lapsing on our equipment. We were wrestling in fiscal year 25 with trying to get some of our master agreements in place so that we could get certain jobs out more expeditiously, and that took us a little longer than we wanted. We've got most of them in place now. We're still working on one more, but things are picking up at that level, and so I do not anticipate having the same types of lapses in fiscal year 26.
No, I appreciate that, and I think in my conversations with HPD in buying equipment, they're going to going to get their requests in really early with BFS to try to get that through. Okay, that makes total sense. As far as my district is concerned, I noticed we don't have a page number on your slide deck, but you have the Hawaii Kyodo Foundation design and build to operate the city traditional Japanese archery facility. And this is non-revenue sources, and it's to be determined. I do want to tell you that I know this is administration's initiated project. I actually been getting a bunch of pushback from community members. Since this is not my initiation, who should I direct these people to? Do I have them call you or your deputy who want to object to the building of this in what is on the map, a Maumai nature preserve?
Go ahead and direct them to me. And so I'm working with the donor. I will be going to the neighborhood board, which had originally supported the project, but will be going in April, I think it is, to be hearing from the community and talking with them as well. I know that people that are immediately adjacent to any project are very concerned about what might happen. This is not a large facility. It is actually very, very small. It is helping to activate, an unactivated portion or overgrown portion of the park. And the donor is working with the Trees for Kaimuki and others so that when, if the project does go through and he brings water into the area, to locate it where they can access water higher up where they want to do some of the invasive species removal. We have gotten a lot of requests from communities such as this to be doing more clearing because of the wildfire concerns that happened after Maui. So right. This is, what we saw is kind of a win-win. I think the people in the surrounding community are concerned at the scale. Is it going to be so large? But it really is a very small facility. It's for a very specialized type of archery. And we need to go and listen to the community and find out what things may need to be in place to make sure that the peace of that neighborhood is not disturbed. And it may be things like hours of operations, size of events, and other things like that that can help assuage concerns.
Oh, I appreciate that, really, because after the article came out in the newspaper, I got quite a bit of pushback concerning the park. But we could talk more about that offline. I got a call from the principal of Kalani High School concerned that they're not going to be able to use the baseball field in Kahala. Is that a legitimate concern? No? I see. We're okay?
Tara just said they're being cut off. No, I'm joking.
So they're okay.
To be clear on the record, that we are not
Kalani
cutting them
High
off.
School is
No,
okay.
but we did organize a series of field user meetings where we pulled together different representatives from around the island, around different types of sports, to talk with them about how we, permit and how we maintain fields and what could be done and to improve. One of the requests that came up was from a number of the leagues. They're getting permits from multiple recreation complexes. So we permit based on our administrative structure, but they operate based on their regional structure. So when one complex permits at a certain timetable and in a certain way, and another complex permits at a different timetable, they said sometimes it's awkward. So what we've done is we've kind of taken a look at our field user meetings, which a lot of our districts do use, and we are looking at standardizing them in terms of time. And then that way we can kind of come out with these all at one time and then work with the different users and issue the permits. We are beta testing this with the districts that are doing field user meetings right now to see how it works and to get feedback from them. And then we may spread that to the districts that are not using the field user meeting. The field user meeting is really, I think, a great opportunity because what you do is you bring in all the different people using the field. And often what happens for the park department is they're working with one user at a time. So that user is like, my use is the most important. Why aren't you giving me the permit? They don't see the other users. And in the districts where we bring them in together, they all see each other. And then often what they've done, like in Pearl City, which is probably the most competitive area for the baseball use, they then start to work out ways that they can maximize the use of a field. So, you know, if we practice over here, but we only hit grounders and we run, you can be using the outfield at the same time. You know, so then they're finding ways to work with each other to maximize the use of the area. So what they may have heard is just some word going around about this discussion, and they're nervous, but they shouldn't be nervous because they're going through the regular permitting anyway.
Oh, that's great news. And I'll just refer the principal to this meeting, and he can watch it himself and your explanation. Appreciate that. Lastly, dealing with the roof restoration, you did bring out the canoe boathouse, I think we call it, on the Aloha. It's actually in Representative Nishimoto's district, Councilmember Nishimoto's district, but that park is really, really well used. It has a shingled roof, and of course, it's missing lots of shingles. One of the things that one of the coaches of the canoe clubs was telling me this weekend, that we have to replace it with shingles. Is that correct? And how can we get around that? Because it doesn't seem like the most, I guess, resilient technology that we could use. And I guess it's a historic building, but it's just cinder block. Like, is there a way we can get around that? I'd love to just rebuild the whole thing with Nishimoto's concurrence, but because we could really turn that building into something really special that the community can enjoy.
Again, I think this is, again, the DDC project, so I think for details I would refer to them. But in my experience with the State Historic Preservation Division, when it comes to historic buildings, the features that their historic architects are most adamant about kind of seminal, you know, big historic buildings, roofs, windows, you know, those kinds of things. So it may be that in going through SHPD, they're asking for it to be replaced with the same materials.
It might be helpful at some point, maybe we have to go talk to the legislature, but really it's considered a historic building because I think it's over 50 years old. But, you know, 50 years old, we're talking about the 70s. And especially in this building, there's nothing really architecturally special. Sorry, Councilmember Nishimoto, but there's really nothing architecturally special about a building built in the 70s. But is that on your list of roofs to be fixed?
I am pretty sure that is on the list for the fives, and that is in a project at this point. Okay. So it is moving forward.
Electricity, by the way, is bad. To me, it's a fire hazard how bad the electric system is in there. Just food for thought.
The backlog of repair and maintenance and replacement projects in parks is huge. And this roofing asset management database is the first time I think the city has had a more comprehensive look. We are still waiting for the last 100 roofs. If that 30% holds true, 30 of them are also going to need to be replaced within the next 5 years. So then we're talking 160 roofs, which would be 30 a year.
And then lastly, surf racks in Waikiki.
I would be delighted to turn the microphone over to the Department of Design and Construction.
I can wait. We can wait.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we can
wait. He came all this way.
Oh, just for that? Okay, come on up. Seriously, was he? No, they have their own, right?
But this is in our budget, so yeah.
Okay, surf racks in Waikiki that burned down twice.
Good afternoon, Budget Committee Chair Okimoto. Chair Waters, I will get you that update when we come on Thursday, the latest on that surf rack. But we're trying to get it out to bid before the end of the year, though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Oh, chair's gone.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Councilwoman Cordero.
Thank you, Vice Chair Nishimoto. Director Thielen, thank you for your presentation. I do really want to commend your discussions with HDOT relating to hopefully collaborating with the erosion and regional targeting of, the different areas on the North Shore as well as the windward side. That sounds really awesome. I do want to ask about the asset management plan. I know that you have phase 2 where you're going to be implementing your database the database where you'll be able to track better maintenance and everything like that. But in addition to that, under the asset management plan, plus that includes all your master agreements, yeah?
So an asset management plan is really when you take an asset, which in our case is a building, or I'd say an outdoor court, it's some type of improvement, and that's the asset. So how do you manage that asset? So any roof should probably be replaced or repaired on every 20 to 25 years. So you would take all of your assets and put it on a schedule. Playgrounds, probably the resilient rubber surface should be replaced every 5 to 10 years. So an asset management approach to playgrounds would be scheduling in advance, in X year, we should be doing Y number of surfaces. In X year, we should be doing Y number of playground, so that you're staying ahead of the asset based on the schedule that it normally deteriorates and needs to be replaced. The master agreements are ways that we do work. So when we do work, you can do what's called design, bid, build, and you are bidding out individual design contracts, and then when you have those, you bid out an individual construction contract. A master agreement sets up an agreement that says, okay, for X type of roof, this is how much it's, the price range that the city's willing to pay to replace it. And so then you have a certain number of contractors that will bid to be on that master agreement. Our roofing master agreement has 2 roofing companies on it. Our asphalt concrete master agreement has 5 companies on it. What will happen is we will go out to the site. We will walk the site with them. We'll take a look at what needs to be done. Everybody agrees to the scope. We write it up. And then the vendors that are on that master agreement, they bid, and the low bidder gets the job. Then it's next job, next job, next job, next job. So you don't have to go through purchasing because the master agreement went through purchasing and was bid out. Sorry. So as the city does more and more work this way, I think we're going to start to attract more companies that are going to want to get onto these master agreements because they're seeing that there's a fair amount of work that can go out under them.
Thank you. And how many vendors do you have? So you said asphalt are 5 vendors, roof are 2, and then for fencing, how many master agreement vendors do you
We
have?
did only have 1, but we just put that out for a new contract, so now we have 5.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Yeah, because I actually knew that we only had 1, so that's fantastic. Okay, 5. Okay, perfect.
And in the playground, there are 5 vendors that can do the playgrounds, adult exercise equipment, and shade.
Oh, you said, and that includes adult exercise equipment. Okay, perfect. That sounds really good. That's a big jump from what we used to hear back. I don't want to say back in the day, but before. So Mr. Bellio remembers those days. Okay, sorry, not to call you out for that, but I do, in addition to the master agreements, and then now that MSS is fully back as a division, I'm sure that's going to really help the output of work that they are implementing. And so I'm looking forward to supporting them as much as we can. I do want to ask, since we have all these new additional vendors, how much are we relying on the Department of Design and Construction to then do that work? Because I know that adds more time when DPR and MSS within DPR could handle that. I don't know if I'm making assumptions there, but.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've had a separation of work that the department does, Department of Parks and Recreation does, and Department of Design and Construction. Historically, up to about 2020, what would happen is Department of Design and Construction would do major capital improvement projects, some emergency projects and things like that. the Department of Parks and Recreation didn't have a division of maintenance support services, so it would do minor repair and maintenance. What could it do with in-house trades crews? And when you're dealing with the onslaught of requests for work orders, you can't really do mid-sized projects. You're doing smaller projects. So there was this massive gap in the middle of what I call large repair and maintenance, minor capital improvements that just simply were not getting done. So what we've done now with these master agreements and MSS coming back into a division and the federal money and hopefully this year the additional revenues coming into MSS, we're able to step into that middle territory of the large repair and maintenance. It's too large for our in-house crews to do. They can't dedicate that amount of time. They don't have the specialized equipment, you know, and it's a minor capital improvement project. And we can do that rather than letting it sit and rot, you know, that which has been the challenge and why parks look the way they look now.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that means MSS and just your department in general are going to start to be active, like through the asset management plan, to then ensure that it doesn't become a big project where then DDC, sorry, I know probably not all your fault, but like DDC then often takes a long time to then get that work done when it goes through that process. So,
So this listing here of all these projects of the roofs, the parking lot reconstruction, the backstop reconstruction, and the fencing, these were all done by Maintenance Support Services Work Program. These were not done by DDC. DDC's handling the large, major capital improvements. They would continue to do that, and the Parks Department would continue to need them. So for example, that Palolo gym, we don't have an ability to deal with the structural issues. So when we go through that list of 129 roofs, and we look at those buildings, we're going to want to look at them both with MSS and DDC, and to take a look at, should some of these really go to DDC because you're dealing with structural issues, not just a roof, or is it something that a roofing contractor can resolve? If it's the roofing contractor, it's a minor CIP, it's no structure, MSS can take care of it. If it's the more complicated capital project, then it would fall under a major capital project, and in that case, DDC would take care of it.
Okay, thank you. And I'm it's probably shame to ask with DDC here, but like, is there a way for parks to manage and upkeep so it doesn't then become a structural issue to then have DDC handle it, which often then they have to go through their process, yeah?
If we take this funding from fiscal year 27 and we work on revenue in the upcoming fiscal years, yes, MSS can replace those roofs in a timely manner so they do not evolve and degrade into structural problems. If we don't have that ability to address those roofs, they will evolve into structural problems, and more facilities around in your parks, in your district, will be condemned and closed and sitting there year after year while we're waiting for a capital improvement project, because CIP projects will take a 5 to 10 year span from start to finish.
Yeah, thank you. And I do want to avoid that, because I know that when IAEA was like down a little bit, I mean, had plenty, not just IAEA people, but actually people from Chair Waters' district and Floor Leader Kia Aina's district who, I don't know why, went to IAEA District Park and were very involved in the activities there and had concerns about it not being fully functional. So thank you. I do have a question relating to, so I'm glad that Councilmember Telba brought up sponsorships and partnerships. And I was wondering if we are able to utilize that for like turf. I know, because turf is really expensive. And I know that grass doesn't have all the time to heal, especially in all of our parks. You mentioned that baseball is a hot commodity or super competitive in Pearl City, but also at Keahi Lagoon, as well as, I mean, actually in everyone else's district, and for all the sports. And so I was wondering if we could find partnerships that way. I mean, I'm not going to solicit that, but just for example, at Alapu'umalu, I know that Home Depot, along with ASO, was able to partner, and then you had me and Senator Wakai and Rep. Ichiyama, like planting planting certain things from Home Depot. So are we able to maybe do something like that as a partnership?
Yes.
Or is turf not like good for the soil?
No, turf, depending upon the type of turf, we can definitely do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And next is my very last thing is relating to parks and urban spaces. I know that in the primary urban center, but especially starting with my district and then dense areas, how are we able to, if we were to able to look to new development, and if we were to do vertical park spaces, how then would that maintenance for those vertical park spaces possibly look like, especially if they are in like new development areas, whether it be Iwalei or along Kapalama Canal. I'm just thinking for the future of what that may look like and then what that may mean for maintenance from the city.
So thank you for the question. You know, this is something I think the council should be looking at along with the administration. As rail gets built out, much of the development on Oahu is going to shift to urban infill. And unlike in the past, when the park contributions were, you know, large park areas with fields, you're not going to have that opportunity with urban infill. We've approached the Department of Housing and Land Management and said, as the city's planning for the Iwalei redevelopment, I don't want to see Ala Park become just packed with gyms and courts and all that stuff, because you need green space. You need places for events to take place. A lot of event planners are complaining they have no place for communities to gather, and so that they need to have that. But a gym, it's basically indoor recreation. So I want to take a look at the city building. Could we put a park in the building? I was in New York a couple years ago visiting my daughter who was in Manhattan, and I stayed at the YMCA, which was opposite the Central Park. And they have a track, they have a pool, they have basketball courts, they have, you know, Zumba rooms and all that, and it's in a high-rise. So I think it's important for us to take a look at, you know, how could you do that? Would you centralize it and have the developers do it where the parks people staff it? Would you have it be part of the private development, but it has to be open to the public certain hours? You know, could you have programs there? Because we don't want to not have programs for things like summer fun. So would there be access, you know, for the park department to be able to operate a program to be able to serve that community? So I think these are things that we should be looking at, because the development that'll take place, you know, starting in 5 or less years over the next half a century is all going to be along that rail line.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Chair Okimoto, for the time.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Tupola.
All right. Director Thielen, you have come such a long ways. My goodness, I was just looking at you thinking, I remember how difficult this was the first year to explain all the reasons why everything's broken. So it's great to hear there is so much progress, and kudos to you for being very specific on the progress. I think from day one, that's been something we've all been kind of wondering, how old is this? How many things of that? So you've kind of gone, you know, district by district. Okay, this district's not getting taken care of because missing truck, missing this, missing that. So thank you. Thank you for your work. I have just a few questions. I know I take up so much of your time on a regular basis. Lucky me, because I'm the Parks Chair, I get to, hi, it's me again for the 5th time. So can you briefly explain to me the attendant kitchen and facility rental, the 24% increase? Where is this? I'm on the DPR changes in revenue sources. Where do we have an attendant kitchen and facility rental?
I think this is attendant services and kitchen rental. We don't really do much in the way of kitchen rentals. A lot of the kitchens have been taken out of the buildings because of the health requirements increased with the grease traps and everything. But attendant services, looking back at Christine just to verify, this is the $20 an hour for the attendant to open up the gym or the pool after hours. So if we have a facility that's being used outside of our working hours, we would have an attendant there to be able to open it up, and the permittee would pay for the attendant cost.
Okay, got it. Next page, there is a TBD working with UH West Oahu Ho'opili mandatory park contributions. As you know, we work a lot with them, and we're trying to resolve some of the issues, including allowing for some potential future dog parks. But is this going to be in form of in-kind or actual funds that will come to you from Ho'opili?
So the park contributions, and thank you, because I know you had some conversation with one of the developers recently and said, no, you still need to do the park contribution. We really need land space for recreational uses. We do not have enough athletic fields. So what's really important to us is to get flat land of a minimum size that you could put athletic fields on it to serve the community in these areas, because there is not enough in that West Oahu, Kapolei, other build out.
So this item is about land then, just because there's other ones that are listed as 10 million, 6 million, but this is just land that they're going to give.
Yes, and what we want to make sure is, in some cases, the developers come forward with really primo spots that are great for athletic uses. In Eva, we have a lot of parks that, while they haven't been built out, they're like 20 acres, flat, level, and they're choke use for athletic events. In other cases, the park inventory has included land that's kind of the leftover space that couldn't be built on, and then it can't really be used for a park. So that's why we're having the early discussions with Ho'opili and UH West Oahu, is we want to make sure that 10 years from now, when they're ready to dedicate the space, that this is going to be usable park land.
I will say that with Ho'opili, they have 3 parcels they need to give to DOE for middle school, high school, elementary. The middle school is built, given over. High school, middle school, DOE said they're not ready to take. And so they built a field on the elementary site, and they're maintaining it. It's not our field, it's still theirs, but it's supposed to go eventually to a school. So I know that they've been trying their best. So just wanted to make mention of that because it was really helpful. In the 8.9 million that's going to come from the TAT, are you going to be outlining that anywhere so that we know what that breakdown will look like eventually?
Yes, and as I mentioned, we did come up with a project list. The list was based on the work requests that have come into the maintenance support services from the park and garden areas. But now that we have this roofing inventory, we want to go back and double check, should we be adjusting that list to push forward additional roofing projects in order to keep more recreation buildings open and more buildings that are serving the public in these key recreational areas open, and to protect the contents inside the building that's used for recreation so that doesn't get damaged from continued leaking. I think that is going to take us a couple months to work through that process, because as I've said, this list is kind of hot off the press. And so what they did is they just assessed what's the quality of the roof. They don't necessarily know how much are we permitting in that park, what types of programs are being offered in that park, and so, you know, what types of uses are going on. And so that's where we have to kind of come in and do that value use-based prioritization.
Will that list be a reso, a council communication, or departmental communication on your website? Where can we find that when it is done?
We can share with you the initial list that we gave to BFS for the 8.9 million, and we can share with you the draft report on the 400 roofs, so you can see that, and you can see which ones are in your district. We certainly would welcome input from the council members on what priorities you would place on the buildings in your district, because I think that's something that we should be talking about, which are the ones that are more valued by the community, and you guys have a lot of connection with the community, which would be very helpful.
It'd be great to have that list, and I agree, we could give a little more insight, and you've been really good at letting us give you insight whenever you guys spend down that money. Thank you, MSS. Thank you, everybody. Okay, last one. Pili'okahi. I know this is like minor, but this is on the preliminary asset management report on conditions. So recently in the news, it was covered that it's actually spelt wrong. So it's Pili'okahi. But anyways, it was a DOT thing. They said that for years and years and years, they've been spelling it wrong. Even on the street, it's wrong. So maybe when we finish this, just if we could use the correct Hawaiian word. So it's Pili'okahi, not kahi.
An E instead of an I?
Yes, yes, Pili'okahi. Okay, mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola. Before I go to round two, I just had a couple of questions, if that's okay. On your page, I guess it's 11, when you mentioned the Phase 2 assessment management plan, you talked about the software license, the $250,000. Is this related to, you mentioned that it was for managing the inventory for the roofing, and managing scheduling. Is that what this one was for?
So this would be, so this database that we have for the 500 roofs, it's just like an Excel spreadsheet, which isn't particularly helpful. So the software would allow you to drop that in because it's in an open source format, like Excel. And the software would then help in identifying the scheduling. And then if, let's say a tree fell on a roof and we had to go and fix it, we would then be able to update that software. But the software, because we're working with Brian McKee of DIT, and he ran a whole lot of work program systems. So we've met with him several times. What it can also do is it can help us schedule like the mowing of our fields. It can help us schedule and keep track of the work requests that are coming in and the work orders going out from MSS and be a communication system. And then we can also print out reports at the end of the year. We can tie it to our inventory. So let's say our plumbers are going out and they're using equipment so they can, talk about that as part of their data entry instead of doing a paper form, and then it can automatically notify you when it's time to reorder supplies.
That's what I was hoping to hear. I was able to meet with Director McKee. Since he's been on board, it's been such a pleasure for all of us, I think, to see the changes. And he did mention working with certain departments. Yours is one of them, and I was wondering if that was part of that process, because I would like to see that anything that we can do to manage the scheduling, to eliminate inefficiencies, to address the R&Ms that need to be out there. I think Councilmember Cordero mentioned it. What are we doing to keep track of the maintenance so that we don't end up having to build things? In Pearl City, we had a specific example with a roof in the district. So that's good to know. I look forward to that, and hopefully we can see the benefits in scheduling as well as having a proper system to get the parks looked at properly.
I do want to do a little bit of expectation management here, though. When you switch over to a software system, right now we're using e-forms and paper, so it's not all paper, but we're going to have to populate that software program.
How long do you anticipate that taking?
Well, so what we're going to do is we would beta test it with one of our districts, so that all of the work orders and things through MSS would be done through that. And then once we have that set up, start to work and add in others and expand it across the island after we kind of tweak anything that needs to be tweaked for our department.
Okay.
But it will be an iterative process, but we can be on our way. And then once we get onto that process, it doesn't go back, which is the beauty of it. So I think over the next couple years, we could make a lot of progress in shifting the department over.
That would be really good to see. And we understand that there's always that trial period, but I think we're heading in the right direction, especially with your department. Really quickly on page, I guess this would be page 12, you did have the roof management, or the management report on conditions of the 400 roofs. My neighboring district member, a council member mentioned that, just for note, that number 7, actually, I know it's listed in District 7, and we share a lot, but that's actually, Councilmember Cordero pointed out that that's actually in District 8. So just for your record. But we do like sharing a lot of our districts together. I had a question about your roof assessments occurring. How often does this happen? Is there a schedule? When was the last time that the roofs were assessed and the conditions of them?
As best I know, never.
Never, okay.
No, I'm not aware of any record. It could have happened years ago when there was more of a parks planning. As you know, when the city created the Department of Design and Construction, a lot of those groups were centralized from various parks over to DDC. I know they have park standards and other things. They may have some individual assessments. But as far as I'm aware, there's not been an assessment of every roof under the department.
And moving forward, what is the plan to not have this happen the same? Are we looking at annually, quarterly, or biannually? What's the plan for the department?
The plan is to get that onto a software system, because once you have that assessment on, as long as you can keep it current with new information that comes in, you don't have to go out and redo a assessment of every single building. Then you're doing, each time you go out and you touch a roof, you're updating information about it. So the key is, don't let that initial assessment get stale. And this is what Brian McKee keeps pounding into our heads. We have to get that database into a software, and we have to shift our roof work onto that work program software so that regardless of what district it is or whatever, if MSS is going to go out and touch a roof or DDC is going to touch a roof, that information is updated in that database. And so then that keeps it current.
Okay, thank you. And final point, is just a little shout out. I do have to thank, I know you had Doria up here earlier. I got to tell you that the members of your team that work with my office, we are so grateful. She's hiding in the back. She hates being in the spotlight, but Carrie Leong is a warrior for my district. And I'm hoping that Bob Sinclair never retires because we really need them and their support. They're really instrumental in getting the roof in Pearl City fixed as well as other parts of my district. So thank you. Special shout outs of hiding in the back, Carrie. We appreciate you. Members are going to go for a second round of questions. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you. Director, I have a few questions on some projects in my district. Your staff shouldn't be surprised because I think in my respective communities, it's been a big issue. I understand that for the tennis courts at Kaneohe District Park, the improvements, it's been complicated. And I'm looking at DDC's bubble report. What is going on there? Because over the last several years, we've had funding in it. And what is the challenges? Why is it not moving forward? I don't see anything, no deadlines in here for the project moving forward. It's a scope development consultant procurement process ongoing. And there was funds allocated for in the last couple of budgets. So I'm just expressing, if you're not prepared.
No, I would like to invite Mark Yonamine to come up again. This is another project being managed by the Department of Design and Construction.
Good afternoon, Mark Yonamine with Design and Construction. Council members, so that project, I mean, there's some issues on drainage as well. And there's these big drain lines that cut through the project, to the park site. So, we have to work with DFM, trying to scope it out with, parks as well. So I know that project is going to be moving forward.
Okay, but you got to give me more assurances. It's been on this bubble report for a while.
Okay.
And I do know that you are making headway with regard to the parking lot improvements, which also has drainage problems, right?
Yes.
But that is moving forward. But I see absolutely nothing on the district park, the tennis court improvements.
Okay, I'll get you that.
Okay, no worries. And I know, we've met previously. And then, Director, can I just talk briefly about Triangle Park? I do, and for those of you who are not aware, Triangle Park is in Kailua. DTS and Kiewit, their contractor, use it as a staging area for the very long project for the Klapwai roundabout. And so the neighbors have not been able to access that park during the duration, which has been a couple of years, and they are over it. And they feel very frustrated that no one cares about what they're thinking, right? The earliest that Kiewit is going to be taking out the trailer is March 30th. What is taking so long? Why can't you take the fence down? How come the efforts to determine where the trees are going to go and removal, why is it not done in concert with the park? So I'm just, I'm appealing to you because I do know that they have reached out, the neighbors have reached out to both DTS and Kiewit, but this is your park. So I want you guys to care about what's going on in the community and give their park back.
I agree, Councilwoman. I will intervene in this one. I had reached out to DTS and our staff because I've seen the emails, and we do want the park returned in better condition than when they took it over. I think there is a justifiable expectation by the public that if somebody's going to come in and use that park, even though it is for an adjacent city improvement, that to compensate the public for the loss of the public park, there should be improvements that go on to that park from the vendor. And we have negotiated those with a number of them. I'm sorry to see the emails that are going around on Triangle Park. I will reach out with the director of DTS, and we will work with the contractor on that. I used to take my daughters to that park when they were little, and I know how important that is as a gathering space for the community.
Yes, and whatever you could do to expedite it, we've been patient with them long enough. but do not tell the community to be patient for when they determine they're going to start refurbishing the area. So thank you for intervening. And then just lastly, you know, I understand your decision. I would have preferred, with regard to TAT, that we had a meeting. I only got a request for a meeting on Thursday at noon of last week when I was unable to meet. I do have concerns. I don't want this to be a pattern. I'm willing to hear it, but if I feel that this is the direction, we may have to revisit the provision that we enacted and change it. Because you know, I know what you're telling me, but I just feel that the manner of how you made that decision, I feel it's just coming to me as a surprise, and so I just I'm a little concerned about it. Yesterday, when we had the Climate Resiliency Fund and they had their process to determine all the projects, it was so exciting, and that is a newer fund. And after they got lickings last year, you know, and we diverted some of the funds, they really did a good job in working with everybody, and that's what I was anticipating for this project. And as you know, even if DPR, park beaches and parks were mentioned, it's really for all public facilities. Yeah, so there's other departments that can avail themselves as well. So that's all. I just wanted to say thank you. I work closely with your team, clearly, on the Windward side. Greatly appreciate what they're doing and you. And just hope that we can work on, you know, sustaining the TAT provision.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and I apologize for not getting into earlier. I was waiting for final decisions on the budget, but that was my mistake, and I should have come in to talk with you earlier. So I apologize, and I will do better in the future.
Thank you, Florida Kaina. Members, before we continue with any further second round questions, just to be mindful of everyone's time, if you have questions specific for the department and the budget, we'll proceed with that. If it's specific to your district, if I can ask you to direct them through email or schedule a meeting with the department on your own, if that's okay. So that being said, I'll go through for second round questions. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, Wire, Toba, Chair Waters. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you so much, Director Thielen. And thank you for your department. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you again, council members. We appreciate the support.
Thank you. And we want to thank the Department of Housing and Land Management for being so patient. We'll welcome you here to the chamber as well. They will be joining us next. So for your information, the presentation from DHLM is available online as Departmental Communication 177, 2026. And joining us in the chamber today, we do have Director Kevin Auger as well as Deputy Director Kat Tashner. Good afternoon, Director Auger.
Good afternoon, Budget Chair Okamoto. It's a pleasure to be here. Honorable Council members, Kevin Auger, Department of Housing and Land Management.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Want to try that? So we're good to go? Outstanding. So we have a very brief presentation, so we've left a lot of time for questions. Our budget for fiscal year 27 is $7,944,932. That's comprised of salaries of roughly $4.6 million and current expenses of $3.3 million. The budget overall represents a decline of approximately 35%. And the primary reason for that is over the last couple of years, we've been working with Budget and Fiscal Services and Bond Counsel to find ways to move significant expenses over to CIP versus current expense. And one of the big ones that we were able to move last year was an expense for our current expenses for relocation. And that's very significant, particularly with respect to larger projects like the work that we're doing in Evilay, where we've got a significant number of commercial tenants there that will be relocating, and being able to capitalize those projects is very important, those costs, particularly with the result of the enactment of Act 45 a couple of years ago, which allows the counties to build mixed-use developments. Our fiscal year 27 budget issues, we have salaries of $252,000. Current expenses of $750,000, current expenses of $150,000, and salaries of $48,000 and $41,000. Those salary expenses, those salary expenses are primarily related to 4 positions that were created as part of the reorganization last May, but did not come over as part of the budget. And the reason for that was the budget had already been established by the time the reorganization was complete. So we're simply funding those 4 additional positions. Current expenses of $750,000 relate to relocation that cannot be capitalized. And then we have $150,000 in current expenses to look at reconfiguring the 3rd floor of the Frank Fozzie Municipal Building that we currently occupy. The department currently occupies approximately 60% of that floor. The balance is occupied by BFS. They'll be relocating, I understand, before the end of this calendar year, and that'll give an opportunity for DHLM to continue to grow and expand. And we have a lot of hiring to complete, so we'll need that space. We followed the chart as provided for vacancies. And we currently have, pursuant to the way that we look at vacant positions, we have 31 vacant positions. However, 11 of those are filled with personal service contracts. In addition, we recently leveraged the governor's EP, the Emergency Proclamation for Housing, to complete six hires that we were able to bring on board, and those included 3 division chiefs that were boarded between October and December of last year, so very significant for us. So total current vacancies as of March 10th, there's 16. We're currently talking to several candidates, and we're hopeful that we can fill 4 of those before the end of the year, and that will leave 12 to be filled in 2027 based on the current vacancies today, with the additional 4 positions that we'll be adding on and 1 position that's moving over from the Department of Community Services. We'll have approximately 17 positions to be filled. In terms of department overtime, although everyone on our staff works extremely hard and works long hours, we don't get paid overtime, so we don't have any expenses there. We don't have any overtime by activity, so there's no expenses there. In terms of our 2027 revenue estimates, most of these revenues that are generated relate to leases. The department manages approximately 60 commercial leases, and those revenues are deposited directly with BFS, so they don't flow through the department. We have some minor revenues that telecom facilities and some other short-term rentals, but they're not significant. In terms of federal funds by department, we have none at the present time. However, I would like to point out that in fiscal year 25, we applied for and received a $2 million FTA grant, Federal Transportation Administration grant, for our work in Eveleigh. That grant is managed through the Department of Transportation Services, who has the nexus and the relationship with the FTA. We recently also applied for a $500,000 EPA assessment grant, and we're working with Congressman Ed Case's office for a congressionally directed spending fund for some work in Chinatown that will be between $5 and $8 million. In terms of our capital improvement programs, we have $26,800,000 allocated for the Affordable Housing Fund. That's the ROH Chapter 6, Article 63 fund that's 60 AMI and below for 60 years. We have an Affordable Housing Mixed-Use Development Fund that's $100 million, and that's $80 million taxable bonds and $20 million general bonds. Ahead there. We have $6.6 million allocated or for the HESD administration offices over the former blood bank facility on Dillingham. We have affordable regional infrastructure planning of $500,000 each for Halava and Evilay, and those relate to potential planning. Last year we participated in the Permitted Interaction Group for Infrastructure Planning and recognized that more planning work needed to be done, so we've allocated approximately $1 million there. We have $10 million earmarked for the villages of Kapolei. The department has been working extremely hard with the Hawaii Housing and Finance and Development Corporation to complete an MOA to transfer the villages of Kapolei lands in that area. As part of that MOA, the HHFDC will be reimbursing the city $60 million, and that's paid $10 million over 10 years. And that's pretty much our budget. We tried to stay within the lines and follow your format, so thank you for that, Chair.
Thank you, Director Haji. Thank you for your efficient use of our slide time. We'll start questioning with Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to begin on slide 4. This is the vacancy number. So to be clear, as of today, there are 16 vacancies out of your 51 or so counted positions. That's the number that is accurate as of today.
Yes.
Okay. That's much better than having 31. So that makes me feel better, and there's a plan to fill those.
It's interesting how they account for the positions and the vacancies, particularly since we just leveraged. We're doing a lot of new things within the department, and one was hiring through the governor's EP. We currently have 32 positions filled out of the 48 positions that are reflected on the current ordinance. So I just want to make that clear. 11 are PSCs, 6 were the emergency proclamation, 5 were appointed, 10 are civil service, and that gives us the 16 vacant.
And to accommodate, these changes, because I know this is a new department, is there a timeline for a formal reorganization to make sure everybody is in the correct place?
Yeah, we're trying to do that this fiscal year when we get the new budget funding, so that we're not, lack of a better phrase, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, get people paid.
Good. On slide 7, I want to look at your revenue estimates because there's a handful of departments, including DHLM, that do generate some degree of revenue. I recall in our discussions, there was some, looking at this rental units of city property last year was 11,600. This year is estimated to be 0. I do understand, though, that there is a tenant who is paying for this space. So we are going to be realizing some degree of revenue here, right?
Yeah, so a couple of things. There's
just the defaulted tenant.
Of the 60 leases that we currently manage, that generates revenue of approximately $2 million, and that flows through the budget and fiscal services. We do have one commercial tenant that owns a large warehouse space in Kaka'ako, and that tenant defaulted in April, and their rent is approximately $32,000 a month. To be conservative, we just zeroed out the account. Fortunately, we've been able to basically negotiate a workout with that tenant, so they not only paid us for January and February the $32,000 they own it, but they were also paying us a catch-up of $18,000. So we've collected just under $100,000 from that tenant. We haven't reflected that in the budget yet, obviously, because we had to complete submittals, but we are making progress there.
And so this, of the 60 leases, generates about $2 million. Where is the $2 million reflected in the revenue side if it's not in DHLM?
My understanding is it flows through the general account, through BFS.
Let's make sure that we have that accurately reflected, because if we are bringing in an additional $2 million that's not allocated anywhere, that it ought to be. Continuing with this page, and this would be my last question for this round. I understand the city does have a number of vacant commercial spaces. Does the department have a sense of how much money the city's foregoing by not leasing out these spaces? I know that we have Bill 10 which seeks to do this for Chinatown, which has a number of areas. That bill has not yet been referred, and we are literally sitting on money.
Yeah, really great question. I mean, the department has been trying to work on an overall strategy, particularly in the Chinatown area where we have the most exposure for those vacant leases. On average, we just did thanks to our conversation last week, we did an analysis very quickly of a property that we're buying, and those spaces can generate, at minimum, at least $1,000 a month. I can get you an accurate count of the number of spaces we have and do that math, but it's tens of thousands of dollars a month that we're foregoing because we're not leased.
Yeah, thank you. That exercise was really helpful. Again, for the public that's watching, this is a very beat up. I mean, it's basically falling apart, and yet in this building we're generating about 5,000 per month for maybe one of the worst buildings in Chinatown.
Yeah, it sure is. Our existing leasing rules are very cumbersome. They make it very difficult for us to lease, which is why Bill 10 is important. Also, Bill 35 that was submitted last year.
And I think we can generate hundreds of thousands of dollars right now with the conditions buildings are in, not even with improvements that would drive up the rent. I mean, we're literally sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars not being realized. So that's it for me. I'll let my colleagues ask further questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos. Tam, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And concisely, first want to say mahalo, Director, Deputy Director, and to your entire team for a newly formed department. You folks have hit the ground running, and so grateful for the work you're doing. As I think we all recognize the housing crisis upon us is one of the biggest issues facing the community. Second, very, very briefly, only because I know I've talked with you before about how to activate city land, and we talked through some of those concerns. We just had that conversation with DPR. Outside of where we ended, I know I mentioned HLM $1 leases, but I guess my question for you was, do you know if it's appropriate or allowed in the charter or achievable through an OIC memo for, say, an office like CCSR or OER to have land in their inventory?
That's a charter question. I'd really have to defer to corporate counsel on that, but we could certainly investigate that and look.
Okay.
And trust me, I'm very empathetic about particularly the situation on the North Shore where we have significant land that's just not activated.
Okay, and only raise that because if you can OIC it to folks, I think that there's a possibility that there may be some interest given the scope of what other offices maybe have within their purview in the charter and the work they're doing in ag and land stewardship and whatnot. So flagging that for you, but of course I know we're not wanting to create too much work for anybody. And then finally, I was gonna ask you about the Haula Civic Center because it looked like that transitioned into DCS's inventory.
Yeah, that's correct. I believe that's been completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So DHLM has no responsibility to that particular parcel.
I believe that that was imminent the last time I looked, and I want to be certain that it's...
We'll put it in writing then.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you by email to confirm.
Okay, perfect. And then I brought this up with BFS. We'll probably bring it up with DCS. I think at minimum, I think it's a collaboration depending on the need. And then, of course, the DCS maybe rulemaking process. Are there any updates on the project-based voucher discussion and what that could look like or where it's at?
Yeah, that's really a great question. You know, we've been exploring that for the last couple of years. Now that we've got a pipeline of city land assets that we're activating with development partners, it gives us an opportunity to better plan how we can deploy those vouchers, particularly for city projects, to help to support them and stand them up. We can't just apply the vouchers. They have to be competitively bid, so that's a little bit of a challenge. But now that we can better schedule and sequence, we can start to work toward that. One of the other challenges that we have about trying to sequence is that every time, right now there are no vacancies for vouchers. And if we want to use one to convert it to a project-based voucher, we would have to, when somebody turns a voucher in, we would have to warehouse that for a period of time, and we don't want to warehouse them for too long because if they go unused, you run the risk of losing them. But it is a program that we're actively pursuing now, and we're excited about it.
I appreciate that, because to your understanding, has that been a consistently supported program on the federal side? I know we've faced a lot of federal cuts, or do we anticipate losing?
When the cuts began early in the current administration in DC, we took a look at our portfolio to understand how much revenue was actually being generated by Section 8 vouchers, just to be aware in the event that that program, went sideways. It's very significant. Fortunately, the voucher program still has a lot of support in DC and throughout the country. It's the #1 public housing authority subsidy. So we're hopeful that that will continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because I'll end on this, just understanding, I think in past times, HUD has offered additional vouchers for our jurisdiction. I'll note, I think there's value in all of it, so I would hope that we arrive at answers for all the different components, whether it's going to be, are we wanting to take portion of our allocation for project-based vouchers, understanding that as folks time out, if we're using them to create new units or open up new units, those additional prior units are going back into the market, so it's a net plus for the community, understanding what you said.
Exactly
We
right.
don't want to necessarily tie them up, but there's still value. And also maybe just evaluating, do we want to look at, of course, having capacity to accept additional HUD vouchers if they become available and are offered, but then is there a need or a possibility of allocating a portion, if any, of general funds? So those are things I would maybe want to hear
They're
about.
great questions, and we're going to be following up with DCS, Department of Community Services, on those exact questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
appreciate all your work again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire, Councilmember Tolba, Vice Chair Nishimoto, Chair Waters.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Director.
Hello, Chair.
Could you give us a status of the charter-mandated list of city-owned properties? What's the status?
The real
of
property inventory?
Inventory, yes.
Yeah, so I think as we mentioned in the budget, in the informational briefing that we provided in October, Chief Data Officer Kira Chucham is working on that, and I believe the delivery date was May, and when we last checked with her, that delivery date is still accurate, so hopefully we'll be coming back to you in the next month or two.
Okay. I guess we could ask the data officer, but your understanding is May. We're going to get a list in May.
That's what they committed to. Yeah.
Okay, great. How many affordable housing, or how much affordable housing funds comes from the state or federal funds?
Affordable housing funds?
Yeah,
within the
within your
city?
budget.
I don't believe any. I think they're all city generated. They're either general funds or affordable housing fund.
Okay, so you are not getting any help from the state or the federal government with regard to?
Yeah, so the state
program?
provides for low-income housing tax credit transactions. The state provides gap financing in the form of the rental housing revolving fund. So for instance, this year we closed 2 transactions, the KPT transaction for the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, which was $107 million in private activity bonds, and $30 million on the Westlock transaction. The gap financing that was provided for those properties, those developments, was sourced from the state through the rental housing revolving fund. So they do in fact provide subsidy for city-based, county-based affordable housing developments. And that's just the 2 in the city. So they're, that were funded with city private activity bonds. There are many, many others that are not funded with our bonds that the state supports.
Okay.
But it doesn't come through the city chair. It goes directly to the asset.
Developer?
Yep.
Well, my next question is going to be, how dependent are affordable housing projects on state and federal funding sources?
Massively dependent. Yeah, one of the challenges that we're seeing is on low-income housing tax credit deals. When I started at the state 8 years ago, the average cost of a unit was about $550,000. We've seen that through COVID and through the last several years escalate to nearly $900,000 a unit. The state's providing almost $300,000 a unit in gap financing through the rental housing fund to support those developments.
Wow. Is there industry standard for the profit that affordable housing developers should normally
It's typically dependent on a percentage of overall development cost. Where that's awkward in Hawaii is we have the highest development costs, in the United States, right up there with New York, San Francisco, et cetera. The HHFDC has recently defaulted to a per unit development fee that it will pay. and I think that's roughly $50,000 to $50,000 per unit. And we intend to follow the state's lead on that payment. But generally, it can be anywhere from HUD safe harbors up to 14%. So it can be anywhere from 7 to 14% to answer your question.
Yeah, that totally answers my question. It's called the internal rate of return.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious what affordable, because most people want to build luxury because the internal rate of return is much higher, upper teens, if not 20% in some cases. I'm just curious what the affordable housing developers are getting. But that makes sense, about 7 to 15%.
Anywhere from 7 to 14.
15 is actually pretty good, right?
On a yeah. On a $100 million development, sure.
Do you have an idea of how many affordable housing units the city will add in 2027?
In 2027, I'd have to come back to you with that, Chair. I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Okay.
And that's across the city, all developments? Yeah. We'd have to work with DPP to get those numbers. They're just, unfortunately, at the moment, not readily available. But it's another thing we're working on.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, that'd be great.
Yep.
Since you're at it, if you could maybe look out 3 years, 27, 28, and 29 might be helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We talked about in Councilmember Kiaina's committee about incentives, what works and what doesn't work. I believe we have Bill 11 asking your department to look at that. But just off the top of your head, could you tell us what incentives do work and whether or not we should require developers to build a percentage of their projects affordable?
It's a really great question. I think the one incentive, as you've pointed out many times over the last several years, is land. I mean, being able to identify land that's ready for development is really, really critical. It's everything. I think the second thing that we can provide is if the city is going to provide land, is to make that land curb ready. So we can do things like if it needs fill, if we discover EV Kapuna that have to be relocated, if there are utilities that need to be extended to that property, those types of things really eat into the overall capitalization and construction budget for a project and really don't have a lot to do with just delivering the straightforward affordable housing. We've been working with CORE and Budget and Fiscal Services to try to use CIP to basically upgrade our lands before we deliver them to development partners so we can go faster. So that's one significant incentive. I think also, developers have to put out a lot of money during the entitlement and approval process to get SHPD approval and environmental approval and their entitlements and permits and then construction drawings can be millions of dollars for a high-rise development. Being able to assist developers with those pre-development costs can really help to move things forward.
Is that something you're interested in as far as us putting money in your budget to help do exactly that?
So we're looking at that now. Over the last, since last, I think March, April, we've issued a series of requests for qualifications, as you're aware, for 10 properties, and we're now negotiating, hopefully in the final stages of negotiating development agreements and ground leases for those, and you're gonna see those come before council under resolutions, probably starting late April, which we're excited about. One of the things that we recently did, Deputy Kat Tashner spent a lot of time reformatting our pre-development agreement to allow the city to inject liquidity into those transactions. We're gonna use the Affordable Housing Fund to provide dollars to help pay for things like pre-development expenses. If we do that, however, we want to ensure that we protect taxpayer money. So we want those reports and that work product and those instruments of service, as they're called, to also be for the city to be able to use those. So for instance, 3 years down the road, the development doesn't happen and the developer disappears or can't get financing. The developer decides they want to terminate. we want to be able to use that work product and continue the project forward. So it's just being smart about those types of things. But yes, I mean, that's a significant component of what we'll be doing going forward. We want to make it as easy, I can't emphasize that enough. We want to make it as easy as possible for our development partners to move forward and execute these developments and deliver housing.
Okay. You know, you talked about Bill 35. Months ago, we spoke with your department as well as OER to come up with a draft of the bill. And spoke to OER earlier yesterday. They said they did a draft, gave it to your department. Is it forthcoming from your department?
I couldn't hear that last bit. I got to mute this.
So do you have a draft for us for Bill 35?
Oh, so we're working on Bill 35. So the last CD that came in made several changes to the concessions. The concessions aspect of that bill just weren't important to DHLM because that's not what we do. But we fully respect the fact that it's important to other departments, and we've been deferring to those other departments to get, to provide their input and comments. We understand the bill's languished for a little bit, so we want to get folks in a room, get them around the table, get the right principles there, figure out what we want to do, and we'll come back to you.
Appreciate that. Thank
Certainly.
you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Hi, Director Alger. Thank you for your presentation and update. I do have just a few questions. First up, I know that the medical examiner was before us yesterday, and I know that currently, in addition to the medical examiner, there's other city assets in the Ivaley area that are important to our city administration and our operations for the city, yeah? And I was just wondering, how are we assisting or guiding and looking to construct our city assets so that they are, I don't want to say deterrent to weather, but just better equipped for the current issues that they face, like flooding, whether it be flooding, or even in the future, if we have to like have ducks or like, I don't know what they're called. I gotta be honest with you, but I think we've talked about it before when both myself and the budget chair went with you to Ivaley Center to see how we can address flooding in the area.
Yeah, really great question. Not only flooding, but sea level rise, and we have environmental contamination that we're working with. So one of the big and most significant aspects of the Ivaley redevelopment, and the reason that the government needs to get behind that, is addressing exactly those concerns. The new FEMA flood maps that were issued last July show that a good portion of that area is impacted. We knew that was coming, and that's part of our redevelopment scheme. So we're working with, as part of the FTA grant that we received $2 million from the FTA, and the State Office of Planning and Sustainable Development provided another $700,000. And we've retained a consultant team. And one of the members of that team is Nippon Koehi, who is from Japan, that does a lot of work in flood mitigation. And so they will be looking closely at Ivaley and to assist us with that. The big concern there is just simply raising the land, right? And we need to do that. But when you do that, utilities can only be so far below grade. So a lot of that needs to get addressed, and there's significant infrastructure in that area. HECO's got 3 different substations, so 138, a 45, and a 25 kV. So there's a lot that needs to get done and taken into consideration.
Thank you. And I know that it's not just the Ivaley area, but many different areas that we do have city assets and property in that are closer to coastlines or just in general affected by higher tides. So thank you. I do have a question. How much input does your department have along with the Department of Planning and Permitting, as well as HART and other private entities when it comes to fielding a cohesive urban community plan, especially for along the rail line? The reason why I ask that is because, I get it, there's private properties, there's private ownership, and if it's zoned properly, the developers can just allow for the certain uses. And I was just wondering if we are able to have a certain say, especially if we're trying to allow and follow TOD plans and other primary urban center plans and all the like.
Fantastic question, and I could spend hours on that. In fact, just Friday, we submitted 2 informational briefings for council. One is on just the progress of the department generally, and the second is a larger informational briefing on EVA that we had actually provided the Chair of Waters last August, and we want to make that before council. Activating the lands around the Quilly Rail Station and that EVA development, there's approximately 18 acres there, is incredibly important, not only for the development and the ability to potentially provide a minimum of 3,000 units of housing in that area, but it's also given the city departments an opportunity to work around exactly addressing that issue, which is how do we come together to address flood risk, environmental risk, et cetera. And so the team that's working on the master planning for that area includes the One Water team, which includes the Board of Water Supply, ENV, DFM, DPP, CCSR, the Department of Housing and Land Management. And so we're all coming together to try to determine how do we address this. And one of the first questions that we answered are trying to answer is, which way does the water flow, right? Understanding that is just massively important to everything else in that built environment around that. So the One Water team, this is their first project, so it's a great opportunity to work together. And we're really excited about that. Their goal and their mission is to address areas like the Quilly Rail Station redevelopment from a holistic approach, addressing all of those issues, sustainability, sea level rise, et cetera. So we're excited about it.
Thank you very much. And I know that there's future areas that are even by the Kalihi, the Mokawea station where D-Light, but in between that, we have Kamehameha Schools that owns majority of my district in general. And so I just want to look forward to having a cohesive, more well thought out plan, because I know that they're having the Costco gas station. I know it's already properly zoned. I know that it's owned by Kamehameha Schools, so I can't really fight that. But it doesn't seem like it flows with the, I guess, the plan of TOD in general, and what the possibility of OCCC, the state, and us getting EMS into the blood bank area. It just, and then looking into the future with like Chinatown, and then as we move closer to Civic Center, like just looking for cohesiveness, working with the private entities as well as the state ownerships as well.
Just really a great observation, and just a simple response to that would be, we've just never really done it before. Being able to coalesce around a larger city project is just a great opportunity to do that, and to learn how we work together cohesively going forward on these other TOD projects that we're going to be activating.
Thank you, yes, and we do have it from like Mokawea to Iwalei, and I thank you for that. I do want to bring up the discussion that Department of Parks and Recreation said that it would be good to have with your department in the future as it relates to urban spaces and green spaces, and figuring out how to manage vertical parks and whatnot. You don't have to have an answer for that, but I'm hoping that we could have, oh you do? Okay, all right. I think you already know my question, so I think you got an answer, so you can go ahead.
I'm going to love to respond to that. So as we began to undertake the EVA project, and we worked with HART, who completely reoriented the station there to really make it much more accessible for the 4 acres that we acquired in EVA Center. And we began canvassing the departments to understand which departments might want to co-locate at EVA Center. We have one of the neat things that HART provided us with was, and we'll talk about this in the informational briefing, was they provided us with a stub out at the station guide rail level, so we can create a pedestrian walkway directly into the building, which creates an incredible opportunity to provide city services so that folks can get right off the train, enter a covered walkway, enter into a concourse of city services, for instance, a satellite city hall, potentially, or creating a vertical park, which we think would be great ideas. The only challenge with them is we can build those out with CIP, but they would add to our operating budget going forward because they're new facilities that we'd have to continue to support.
Thank you.
If we elect to do that. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. How about when it comes to, and this is just a clarification from my third question there, it's just basically, how about other than Ivaley, but future city projects in and around the urban center, as well as not requiring, but like really suggesting to developers to allow for the city to have some stake in the green spaces that they may make or may provide in their development?
Yeah, so the Department of Planning and Permitting has great materials on all of that. They have, a tree program. They have, I think we have 10 or 11 transit-oriented development neighborhood plans. So they've really done quite a bit of work around, assisting developers and providing them with that information.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll bring that up then with DPP, but definitely when it comes to future city assets and properties in the future, let's think about those urban spaces, urban green spaces. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Chair Okimoto, for the time.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Tupola.
Hi, aloha, Director. Thanks for being here.
Aloha,
I have a few questions. I do think maybe for overtime and federal funds in the future, maybe just don't include a slide, maybe just a liner. Let's save the trees. I know because you guys didn't have anything there, but I appreciate you being very thorough. Thank you. For revenue estimates, you do have like very minimal numbers there for short-term rental units. I'm guessing we just don't manage a lot, or maybe we're like not in the business of managing units and et cetera. Is this something we seek to keep at this level? I don't want to ask exactly. I kind of know off the top of my head where we're renting. And then as well with the telecom facilities, is this something we're keeping at this level? Or you think maybe in the future as we kind of build out this portfolio you're working on that this revenue estimate might get higher? Just briefly your thoughts there.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are just curious about the way that we account for revenue monies and revenue streams in the city. So, for instance, we have parking garages in many of our buildings, but the parking garages are managed by DTS, so they record that revenue. We manage, as I mentioned earlier, approximately 60 commercial leases, and all of the revenue, the majority of that revenue is funneled through the general account through BFS, which is fine, but we just don't get the credit for it. We also have approximately 1,450 units of affordable housing, but most of those dollars stay within the reserve accounts of those properties so we can upgrade them. So we just don't see it as much as we don't get credit for it, I guess.
Well, I guess with that in mind, then, because these amounts are fairly low, is it easier to kind of divert it to other agencies, seeing as though this is probably not you guys' main gig, but what are your thoughts?
It's a great idea. I think this is just legacy stuff, that's built up over time that we continue to manage.
Good to know. I'm going to keep my eye on that and then see what we can do for that, because it seems like anything minimal that maybe isn't within your realm, like we should offload that so you guys can just work on the portfolio of what you guys are doing currently. The next question I had was in regards to villages of Kapolei. So just for clarity, it's pronounced Kapolei. And this is set aside for $10 million. And I know I brought this up with BFS, but this is not money we're coming up with, correct? Isn't the state going to pay us a sum over amount of years? Just making sure I'm understanding this one.
It's absolutely correct. And I apologize for the mispronunciation. I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts originally, and everything's capped. So I just default to that. Apologies.
Thank you.
Yes, we have the MOU that's been negotiated with the HHFDC, the Hawaii Housing Finance Development Corporation, would provide 6 payments of $10 million each annually. The $10 million that's reflected in the budget would be the city in return outlaying monies to address the work that needs to be done on those roads.
Wait, so you're saying that we would put in the money and get reimbursed?
We would get 10 from the state,
yes,
and then put out 10 to address the roads.
Okay, so even though it's reflected as money we're giving out, we are getting that money
That's
from
correct.
the state. Okay,
yeah, it's a wash, and it's being supplied to address deferred maintenance in those areas.
Yes, just for clarity, colleagues, just wanted you guys to know because the state is making a deal with us because I do believe offloading this from HHFDC is something they've wanted for decades. So hopefully that happens. Like, how historic would that be? Another historic thing, Verona Village. Thank you very much. I heard the documents went out today. In brief, can you summarize what that means for the people and what that means moving ahead for the timeline?
Yeah, it's exciting because now the developer can start to transfer those units with the CPR being completed. And that's something that I know that they've been working toward for a long time.
And so from today until the day that people can possibly own their own land, that time frame looks like what? How many months?
I'm not quite sure exactly how long that's going to take. I've been really focused on trying to get the CPR documents
No worries,
done,
no worries.
But I will certainly follow up with your office on that.
Okay, yeah, we appreciate it. Both Councilmember Tolba and I appreciate you guys being mindful of these individuals and families that have been waiting. So
Absolutely.
Thank you again for all your work with my office.
Thank you very much, Councilmember.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tupola. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
Thank you. Director, with regard to the Waimanalo housing project, just wanted to see if the chair was listening because I'm not supposed to be bringing up
It's fine.
projects.
Go ahead, Floor Leader.
Okay, I'm just joking. So the Affordable Housing Development Fund that you have, 26.8 million, that's the from the Affordable Housing Fund. How do we have that much money? Don't we spend down that money annually?
It's accumulated over the years. So last year we put out $8 million that we applied towards the Kuhio Park Terrace property that the HPHA is constructing. We built a little bit of a war chest, and that's somewhat intentional because now we have 10 different developments that we're working on. So if, for instance, we put out a couple $1 million on each one of those projects, that fund will be gone. And we anticipate that we're going to see significant funding this year. We might make commitments that might not get fully funded because as the work is done, we'll pay. But
So you're going to, is it your intent then to try to cushion it perhaps so that you look at the diversity of projects and then maybe keep a little extra as you project over the years for future projects?
We always want to keep a cushion primarily for opportunities because every day we see new stuff. And if an opportunity comes up that's something that we really want to execute on, or a council member has something that they really want to execute on, we want to keep a rainy day
Yeah,
fund
absolutely. It's good fun. I appreciate the fact that it helped to fund 2 affordable housing projects in Kailua. So thank you. Thank you. To your deputy director, she led the charge on one of those projects. And everybody's waiting for the one on Kihapai, by the way, so as soon as they move forward.
On that, if you like. I mean, they've applied for 9%
No,
credits.
I don't need, because it's on target.
It is.
So we're anxiously awaiting. I regret that when an increase into the fund was put on the ballot in recent years, it actually was voted down. And maybe it's a lesson for all of us, because I think we should have mobilized to support it more so that people could better understand, because everyone's talking about housing and then you get a charter amendment and then you vote it down. So that's all. So I fully support this fund. The other fund that, of course, is important to me in your kuleana is the Clean Water and Natural Lands Fund. I don't see an itemization here. So if you can answer 2 questions. What is the current budget for the operations of that office? And second, what is the surplus of funds available in that overall fund?
Really great question. So the overall, I want to make sure I got this right. The salaries allocated are $212,000, and the total current expenses approximately $858,000.
Okay, so that's operations.
That's operation. And they're trying to do a number of significant things this year, like particularly on the stewardship side. And I know that they've got a signage program that they're trying to roll out, which is really important, particularly on some of these larger land tracts. But if you look at that, we've spent a lot of time looking at the fund because I'm also been trying to get my head around it. We had In fiscal year '25, we had roughly $26.5 million appropriated. 2 of that was spent down. So that'll leave almost $25 million that will lapse. It doesn't go away. It just gets rolled over to the following year. But we have $29 million, $29.3 million appropriated in 2026, and there's $41 million that's appropriated for 2027. That's the
Yes,
budget.
so could you tally it up? I want to know the totality, the collective amount of what is available in the fund.
$70 million,
Okay, that's a lot of,
$208,000.
that's a lot of money. And I just ask for both your and the deputy director's involvement as other members. I know Chair Waters and myself are very interested in the fund. And to your staff, I would like to say that we are not adversaries. Just because somebody introduces something, a measure to look at how we can improve the process, doesn't mean that we are trying to take away from the program. We want to improve it. So I just want to tell you and the deputy director that I look forward to working with you. The projects are not easy, but you need help. And you need to work with us, not against us. I'm talking to the staff for the program. And the reason I'm saying this is it is not enough to look at the total cost of a project, right? And get a total offer price, deduct what you think others will pay, and then give us the bill and say, this is the city's COCOA. It doesn't work like that, okay? You gotta be realistic about what our funding stream is. Second, I just wanna say that I understand Corporation Council, in cooperation with you, is looking at a different way of holding co-easements with regard to the title holder. Well, I would say that we also perhaps need to look, if we're going to do that, at the title holder of the underlying land. And by that I mean, if we are going to be asked to fund, because we happen to have a surplus here, of the majority of funds for a project, then we may have to consider whether we be the title holder. And I know that that is not your business, but I do know for a fact that the City Council's Agricultural Task Force is very, very interested in swooping up agricultural lands. And such lands are available for acquisition under your program. So I just want to say that this is an important program and that I worry about the accumulation of surplus funds because you may get a reprogramming of funds coming down the pipeline. And that is the last thing you need because everybody needs money and you're not moving the funds out in a timely fashion. And we want to help you. That's all I want to say.
And appreciate those comments, Council Member. And let me emphasize that within my department, there's nothing more that we want to do than work with you and council members to get these funds expended in the appropriate way. So I just want to make that crystal clear for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Florida Kia Aina. Aloha, good afternoon, Director. Before I go to second round questions, I had a couple of follow-up questions I wanted to ask you. And I appreciate you actually saying what you just stated about working with us, because that's, I think, something really important from all of us. We want to be able to work with the departments, have communication. And so I just want to follow up on something that probably I've been advocating for, I know others have, is that communication with identifying specific lands in the district. You mentioned to Chair Waters that the deadline is May 1st for getting the information to us, identifying city lands. Is that correct?
So I said May.
May. Did I say May 1st?
And that's...
or May, sorry, May. You're right.
That's Chief Data Officer Kira Chichum is working with DTS and others to bring that information all together.
Okay.
And we hope to have that. We recently reached out to her to say, hey, where are we? Are we still on track? And she's agreed that we are.
And in the meantime, how has the communication been with the districts? Because I still hear rumblings of things happening in District 8 regarding city lands relating to housing, and I haven't been personally, and we weren't able to meet. I'm not sure what happened, but we were not able to meet, so I wasn't able to ask you this in a private meeting. But these are things where I think we've been asking for, and I'm hoping that we can get some kind of movement forward and not hear it from outside sources that there are projects or ideas or things happening within our districts, and it's relating to land and housing, and I'm not hearing it from you.
Is there something that came up recently that we should be aware of, or?
Well, I'm asking you.
Oh, so when we rolled out the strategic plan last January, and I think we delivered that to council a couple of times, I think in March and April, we, at that time, had identified 10 city land properties that were pretty well spread out throughout districts. We made some strategic errors at that time because I was new and I didn't come talk to anybody, and I have apologized for that. But we've been just continuing that program, so there's nothing new has changed beyond that.
Well, I would ask again if there's any movement, any change, just to communicate with us, because sometimes we just hear it in the hearings, or I hear it hearsay, and so I would just like to know directly from your department if that's possible.
Yeah, so two things was when we've, so the requests for qualifications have been really helpful because we've been able to leverage the governor's EP to kind of do that a little bit quicker. And we wanted to get, and get selected preferred negotiating partners for all of those parcels, and we're just about there. Once we make those selections, we've been trying to be really diligent about sending chair a notice that says, hey, we've selected this partner. We send a notice to the neighborhood board, and then we'll reach out to the council member whose district that property is in, because we do things like press releases. So for instance, just last week, we announced the selection of a preferred negotiating partner for the Delight Bakery site, which is in Councilmember Cordero's office, and we reached out to her, and we got a quote for the press release, and I think that came out in the newspaper just yesterday.
Well, I guess I would like just to ask, because if you're saying you're into the neighborhood boards first, I would, at least for my district, come to me first, and then we can work together going to the neighborhood boards.
And that's fine. I didn't know that. I just was trying to cover our bases.
No, and that's great. And definitely going to the neighborhood boards is very.
And we haven't done anything yet in your district, so but we will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to take a caveat of my own. I'm going to use my chairmanship at this point. And this question is specific to my district, but mostly because it touches on multiple departments, and I'm still trying to figure out. This is back when Deputy Director was part of DLM, and this relates to the Pearl City Fire Station, because for years now I keep on getting told it's in somebody else's department. So I don't know if you have an update for that. I keep on hearing different updates, but I think at this point it would be nice. I was able to meet with HFD and DDC. I think my team and I would like to meet with those two departments, you and DPP, to see exactly what is going on. I feel that the delays that happen in government, that's kind of a given. However, in this case, I feel that's not necessary if we can expedite the process, because in the meantime, our first responders are living in an area or housing that's actually not suitable for them. And so whatever I can do to help them, I really would like to. Absolutely.
Let me follow up with the team. I'll follow up with your office, and if we can get folks around the table, we'll be happy to do that.
That'd be wonderful. And lastly, just for future presentations, if it's possible, if you could include the multifamily housing program and administrative fees into your revenue estimates. I don't see it in this slide deck.
So under Bill 55, I think we agreed that those fees would go directly to the general operating fund. Okay. So they wouldn't, much like we've been discussing on some of this lease revenue and such, those monies wouldn't flow through our department directory.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay, starting with round 2 of questions, back with Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. No, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, because since we're on Clean Water and Natural Land Fund, I just wanted to check on the status of the Kikipuka o Kalaiwila, the easements. I think they're introduced in Resolution 25-176. Has that been resolved?
It's not resolved to the extent that we've closed yet. I think that there are discussions with Councilmember Kiaina's office about potentially bringing in DHHL. Is that?
I'm sorry, would you guys like me to update? Would you guys like me to update?
Sure, that'd be great.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Wire, is that okay?
I welcome, yeah.
Okay, so the Fish and Wildlife funding fell through. So the only amount that they have is from the Department of Land and Natural Resources and DOD REPI. That would be 3 and 4 million collectively. That's 7 million. The offer they wanted to make was 21 million when the offer to sell was 28 million. And initially the resolution was like 10 to 16 million dollars.
16, yeah.
yeah, 10 to 16. So again, that was my example of how you just subtract and then all of a sudden we have an invoice for up to 16 million. And I just feel that there has to be a better way of doing our due diligence on these properties. I did make outreach to the Office of Wine Affairs to see if they would be willing to kokua and potentially be the title holder. They are interested, although they have to go through their budgetary process. But I do understand that from Corporation Counsel that any change in the parameters of such a proposal would have to go back before the commission again. So quite complicated. But thank you for asking, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you. So is DHLM have a position, or are they asking the reso to move forward, or what is your position?
Great question. Give me an opportunity to develop that position. I'll get back with the team. We'll get to the update based on the information from Councilmember Kia Aina, and we'll revert on that.
I appreciate that, because I share the concern about a growing pot of money in the Clean Water and Natural Land Fund, and if we have projects geared up to utilize it, I think that would be the best interest of the community. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Councilmember Toba, Cordero, Vice Chair Tupola. No follow-ups. Councilmember Kia Aina, any follow-ups? Okay, thank you so much, Director, and your team for being here with us.
Mahalo.
Okay, members, we are almost there, guys. At this time, we will continue with our next office or department, the commission, the Liquor Commission. And members, for your information, the presentation is available online as Departmental Communication 178, 2026. Joining us today, we have Administrator Anna Hirai and the shucks. Okay. Okay, members, quick pause. Pursuant to Council Rule 8D, I designate Councilmember Dos Santos Tam as a temporary voting member. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you for helping us achieve quorum. Okay, and as I was stating, we'd like to welcome Administrator Anna Hirai as well as Administrative Services Officer Gerald de Guzman. If you could turn the mic button on and then just introduce yourself.
I do this wrong every single time I'm up here. I'm just like.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Budget Committee Chair and council members. I am Anna Hirai. I am still the Assistant Administrator at the Liquor Commission, and I have brought my entire team with me. Starting at the left, our Chief Investigator, Seth Neri, Departmental Staff Executive Assistant, Darren Matsumoto, and of course, our Administrative Services Officer, Jerry de Guzman. I'm going to be conscious of the fact that this is the second of a very long day for y'all. So to the extent I'll obviously be the principal presenter, but if there are questions and you want to drill down into certain areas, I'm hoping that you will indulge us. I would like to encourage my team members to get experience in terms of addressing council members in this environment. Particularly now, I think it's very important that members of the public, licensees and legislators start to put names to faces and get accustomed to addressing these individuals directly. So.
That's, if I can just say, that's very fine. That's fine with us as Assistant Administrator. Just if they come up, they could state their name for the record before they proceed.
All right. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Here is our FY26 to FY27 slide. To be honest, and I'm very grateful that our budget, our FY27 budget request is not very dramatic. We are asking for an increase of approximately $500,000 or approximately an 11% increase. The largest amount increase is salary, because like most departments, our largest expense category is salary. That number there is comprised of $3.5 million for regular pay, $120,000 for overtime, $325,000 for personal services contracts. And in FY27, I think this is the first time we're actually budgeting for accumulated vacation pay of about $53,000, and that will be paid to people who retire or leave government service. The second, in terms of current expense, the largest item in current expense is office rent and CAM of $510,000, and also $200,000 for the abbreviation is L2 maintenance. L2 stands for the Liquor Commission Information System 2. It's our custom-built database and online application program that also captures all of the functions, audit, licensing, and enforcement. $200,000 for that, which is an increase from $26,000 the year previous. So our budget issue slides highlight some elements of the increase, approximately $83,000 for, and I think this is funny, I'm not, 1.48 positions. So that's a 1 full-time and 1 part-time. I'm not really sure why it's expressed as 0.48. We have we do a pretty brisk business, so to speak, in UIPA requests. We do need a second records management analyst. We are anticipating increased documentary requirements associated with the use of the body-worn cameras. And also we have 1,500 licensees with robust paper files that need to be protected, categorized, and subject to retention schedules. So that's, okay. In terms of the, in terms of equipment, approximately $155,000 for equipment. $100,000 of that is for that L2 Phase 8, which is actually going to be the completion of that project, and monies to replace literally a 20-year-old Dodge Dakota. And it's not a budget issue identified here in our FY27 budget, but I do want to point out it does include our budget request includes the $200,000 for the L2 maintenance, and excuse me, an additional and $50,000 to complete the purchase of the body-worn cameras. Half of them will be purchased this FY, the other half will be purchased next FY. Okay. In terms of our vacancies, as of February 1, 26, we had 18 of 57 FTEs. I'm always going to express 57. I mean, it's 53 full-time positions with 4 contract because, quite frankly, having a larger denominator makes it sound better. And as of March 10, we show an improvement of 2, so 16 of 57 FTE. These vacancies are sort of spread out throughout the agency. They're not necessarily clustered. In administration, of course, we have 1 vacancy, a pretty big, important one, and that's for the administrator that is currently undergoing recruitment right now. The commission has acquired the services of an executive recruitment company, and so that is actively in play right now. The 7 vacancies are in admin services. That includes audit, accountant, hearings, personnel, 8 in field services, spread between licensing, enforcement, and enforcement. And to be honest, the most difficult fill, other than the administrator position, because that has proved challenging over the years, and I've been with the commission since 2000, is the LCI 3 position, or the Liquor Control Investigator 3 position. I apologize, I keep on referring to them by acronyms and abbreviations, because you'll notice on one of the information sheets we turned in, three of those LCI 3 vacancies have a 7-year vacancy duration, and that's a very long time. However, it's not like those positions are being left completely empty. We do use personal services contracts and temporary assignments from other places in the agency in order to temporarily staff those positions and try to maintain services. Okay. This is our, for FY27, just the summary information on OT. I will note that the non-holiday OT actually dropped 15,000 from FY26. And now I'm going to go to the details. This is, to me, interesting. I think this may be the first time I've ever looked at it presented this way. So thank you, Committee Chair Okimoto, for making us produce this information, because it's a good way to sort of observe our usage. You'll see the largest users of overtime is the licensing section. We report $71,000. Second largest is enforcement at $24,000. And I will note that with one exception, OT use does not correlate to our vacancies. But with respect to the licensing use, our inability to fill the LCI 3 vacancies, and that's what populates the licensing section, has accounted for in FY26. I was pretty shocked when I looked at this. 2 individuals logged in over 1,600 hours of OT in licensing, and a third logged 172 hours in FY25 in licensing. So clearly, and this is something that we are addressing. If you want additional information, I'd be happy to have Jerry give that to you. But I do appreciate the opportunity to analyze this, but I do want to emphasize that the vacancies do not correlate to OT use, with the exception of the licensing. Then finally, our I had actually prepared a little spiel having to do with our the methodology behind our licensing fee rule. I'm going to skip that unless you do want me to circle back to it. So I'll just say that, broken record, we are a special fund agency. The sole source of funds, excuse me, for operations and administration comes from our licensees via the annual licensee fees. There is a slight downward adjustment in our revenue stream, which I believe is the result of an ultra-conservative projection in terms of how big the licensee population will be, with a corresponding projection in terms of what gross liquor sales are being generated by those licensees. I don't think that is going to happen. Currently, as of close of business yesterday, we report 1,506 licensees, and that is on the higher end over the years. So I think that's a good sign. And we believe, even with an increase in our budget of 11%, we are confident that we will be able to collect sufficient revenue to address that extra uptick, while still staying within the 20% of budget ceiling, which is imposed on all the state liquor commissions by statute. And we do that adjustment through using the annually calculated deductible. So our final slide, you know what, I guess they removed the one about the no federal funds, right? Yeah, that one's removed. So this is actually our final slide. I appreciate the time to explain and present our budget. We're happy to answer questions, and I would like to thank the council, our licensees, the public, for 26 and a half unforgettable years with this city. And I don't know, to be honest, if I'm going to be here much beyond the end of this year, but I have committed that until the commission has selected their number 1 permanent or a number 2 permanent, I will not be leaving until that time. So with that, I'm happy to turn this over to anyone you want to ask questions of.
Thank you so much, Assistant Administrator, and thank you for your many years of service here with us in the city. We'll start our questioning for the Liquor Commission with Councilmember Wire. You're good? Okay. Councilmember Tolba. Thank you, Vice Chair Nishimoto. Nice. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Hi, Assistant Administrator Harai. Thank you very much for your years of service, definitely, and very commendable. I know you were ready to leave last year, so. But it's great to see the journey that the Liquor Commission has gone through ever since I started working at the council in 2012. So kudos especially to your team and to you as well. I do have a question as it relates to the temporary positions, temporary or contract positions. I noticed that one position is 0.48. I I saw 0.60 of a position yesterday, but what would 0.48 of time for a position look like?
Is that 19 hours? It's 19 hours a
19
week.
hours. Oh.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. Oh, okay. It's a rounded up number, but it represents about 19 hours. I know it's, to me, strange that it's expressed that way.
Thank you. And so I know that you mentioned that, okay, actually, I don't think you mentioned this, but with the temporary and contract positions, those don't account for the full FTE. Is that correct?
No, our true FTE is like 53.
53.
And then we have 4 full-time contract positions, but I have a tendency to express it as 57 because it simply makes the vacancy number look a little better.
Oh.
Without being
sorry,
too cheating.
Okay, I like that. It's marketing, you know. Okay, PR. All right. Okay. So I have a question about I got confused. You mentioned it twice, and I still was confused. You said OT does not account for vacancies, or is it vacancies don't account for OT?
The vacancies do not correlate with OT use, with the exception of the licensing, I would say.
Okay, got it. Let me scratch that out. Thank you for that clarification. And then with the new positions that you're looking at, not new positions, excuse me, the new upgrade for phase 8 of implementing the liquor control information system. Because we're in phase 7 now, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, wow, phase 7.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, when we were told very politely by the new IT director is that in IT land, typically these kinds of projects are only done in 3 phases.
Yeah.
And you never get to 3. You finish in phase 1 or 2, and we didn't actually know that because we'll complete in phase 8.
Yes.
The thing is, there is to be fair to us. In addition to the fact this is the first time we've done a project of this magnitude, a completely custom-built software things. There is a number of features that were added that sort of changed, made it more expensive, and also like extended the term. And they had to do with things like, and a lot of it was sort of enforcement-based. A program that will randomize inspections of licensed premises, because there was apparently a thought that without using a formal randomized program, that we might be, that way we can combat, I guess, allegations that we are targeting certain licensees in certain districts. And also GPS, and that's will be tied to our investigators' use of mobile devices and the mobile apps. So that's sort of something we didn't contemplate when we first started this project in 2017. The first thing we did is in 2017. It was the last time we raised our license fees. We specifically raised the license fees so we could purchase and start this project. So that was the last time we did. I think it's fortunate we haven't had to raise them since then. So, and also recent with the new DIT director, we were asked, or it was recommended that we change to a cloud-based system. So that incurred delay and, of course, more cost. But I think it's probably it's a good move.
Thank you. Yeah, I do remember when the liquor commission rates were raised. And are you still able to be self-sufficient with for the office and the commission?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And with the new position that you're adding for that, not just for that in general, but there's like another position for daytime. Investigator?
Daytime enforcement?
Yeah, enforcement, yeah. Is daytime the issue, and is nighttime, like, were you able to fill that already?
I'm going to ask, Seth, do you want to talk a little bit about how we're trying to regain the 7-day-a-week coverage? So you just need to identify.
Good afternoon, Chair and City Council members. Seth Nair, Chief Investigator. So there's a lot of things we're doing at the Liquor Commission, especially on the enforcement side. So right now we are actually having 5 days enforcement. So we're trying to expand to 7 days. This is actually the first time that we actually fill majority of the enforcement positions. So we're trying to really kind of utilize our personnel. So the goal is to have 7-day coverage. We do have 2 investigators that are working on the daytime. One is that 19-hour contract employee, and one's the full-time. So they do have a sloth of duties, just like taking care of the vehicles. They do daytime inspections along with other administrative duties. So I'm trying to expand that to have 3 shifts throughout the Liquor Commission to ensure that we actually do 7-day coverage. So that is the plan moving forward as we get more personnel that are being trained, because it takes time for someone to be trained to be safe and be efficient, to ensure
Will
that
that
they're
same
actually doing their job.
position then also include the body-worn camera reviewer, or is that a different position?
Yeah, so the person we're asking for is going to be for office clerk. That's going to be responsible for basically recovering and redactions of the video for public requests. So we know that there's probably going to be that's going to be a lot of work for that person, depending on how much requests we get on a daily basis.
Okay, and then you would anticipate that person to just possibly working the regular 5 working days?
Yes.
Okay.
That's yes.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. And thank you, Chair, for allowing me to ask those questions and follow-ups.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Floor Leader Kia Aina.
No questions, but Anna, I just, God, what would we do without you? I know we've already thanked you, and this was not part of your post-retirement plans, but I have to tell you, I would be really scared if you weren't there right now. It is regrettable that we had we've had turnover of the administrator, and then it is regrettable that we had the deputy leave. I mean, it's like, I have to tell you, like, what's up with that? Who does that? Who leaves when we need help, right? So you've been there. I appreciate it. My continuing concern has just been to ensure that the investigators are getting adequate pay. And I know that you may be constrained by the classification of these positions. And so I just ask that you continue to explore with human resources as well as with the union on whether or not the base salaries are increased so that they can have livable wages and, and be appreciated, because it's hard work. For the last several years, we've heard a lot of the licensees throw cracks at the Liquor Commission. And while we have worked with you, I feel that you guys have steadied the ship. We need support for the employees that are there. And so whatever you can do to help to make sure they're adequately compensated would be appreciated.
Thank you for that. I just, basically, this desire to raise investigator salaries is shared by all of the Hawaii Liquor Commissions. And also, just sort of an FYI, the starting salary for an investigator 1 is $53,000. That's pretty, and then after 1 year, they're reallocated up to a 2, and that's 57. That's very, very tough. And there's, it's not unusual for an investigator to have more than one job because they probably have to. So I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit on? No, I'm going to force him to come up here and talk about some of the different ways that we might be able to look at. Yeah, I think, really quickly, very quickly.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then I also just wanted to add that just keep in touch on SB 2835. I was, I tried to get the House measure a hearing, and of course it didn't have a hearing. So I look to you to let us know how we could kokoa. You need as many tools as possible, and we want to help you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Jerry.
Aloha, Jerry D. Guzman, ASO. Hey, sir. So I can talk to you about the vacancies in Liquor Commission. When I first started about 1.5 years ago, the vacancies were mainly with the liquor control investigators. A big reason for that is to be an LCI 1 SR 16, you need 1 year of inspectional and or investigative experience in law enforcement, and not very many people can show that. But we've recruited a good team of LCI 1s, and from there, that'll form the basis for promotions into LCI 2 and then the supervisory LCI 3 levels. And that's where most of our investigator vacancies is at the supervisory LCI 3 levels, as well as the licensing LCI 3, which is not supervisory, but is technical. They do the building inspections, they inspect to ensure the property is in compliance before licensing, and that's a long process. But we are using temporary assignments as well as contract workers. We've got 2 liquor licensing examiners on contract. And as they build the experience, they can apply for the permanent position, which requires 2 years of experience. So that's in our field services branch. Now we are incurring some vacancies in our administrative branch. A lot of our tested, experienced employees are retiring, so we've had our supervisory hearings reporter retire after 33 years at Liquor Commission. So she is a tough person to replace. We're working on it, as well as a couple of our hearings reporters. Our accountant has left, and accounting for Liquor Commission is semi-commercial in nature, meaning that we do revenues as well as expenditures. And as you know, we are somewhat autonomous, so that's a big task for the accountant. And then our auditors, we have some vacancies in auditors. But otherwise, we are holding the fort.
Thank you, but I want to get into the underlying issue. My question was, how do we get increased salaries? That's my question. Sure. And if it needs to be reclassified, I'm asking you guys to consider that, because you might be constrained. So, I know the ladder going up, but if the ladder on the bottom is kind of hamajang, you got to fix the lower end of the ladder. That's what I'm asking.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Flor Leader Kia. And Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask about the length of time that it's been taking to process and approve applications. I know this is something we've been asking for the past couple of years. It's, of course, silly that people have to apply for the 3-day temporary permits, apply for 100 of them, which is the same as if they just get it for the whole year. So what steps is the Commission and the Commission Office doing to bring down that processing time?
This particular commission is unusually involved with our operations and the desire to improve our operations. We have 7 active pig permitted interaction groups right now, 7 of them. We've never had that many. One of them is devoted to the licensing process, workflow, and operations. It is staffed by the 2 vice chairs, Vice Chair Hollinger and Sakamoto. We, in fact, are meeting tomorrow after lunch to discuss some proposals to see what we can do to expedite the workflow, because we have a pretty well publicized backlog, and there are ways that perhaps that can be, to use a term that I just triage that and get it moving, because I think the current count is that we have 350 items in the backlog, and so what can we do in terms of given that we've got vacancies in the LCI 3 slot, which is the investigators that typically do the licensing work, and can we better utilize the 2 licensing examiners who are not they're not at the level of the LCI 3s, but certainly are currently working to help with certain of the groundwork to see what we can do to do that. So that is actively being looked at, and it is actually going to start tomorrow when both vice chairs have got certain proposals that I think really come from the private sector, and see if we can accommodate those or use some of those ideas in government.
Great. I have one more question. The Hui Chen report, how are we doing on completing all of those items? I know we were making good progress last year.
Yeah, we have actually, and I'm going to ask Darren to update, but basically of the 17, I think legit 13 are done, and the rest are in progress. I'm going to let Darren. about that.
Good afternoon, Darren Matsumoto, Departmental Staff Executive Assistant. As Ms. Rai said, there was 19 initiatives that were brought up in the Wei Chen report, and proud to say that we have completed 13. The ones that we're still working on, we see out of the 6 that is still in progress, the body-worn cameras was one of the initiatives that's going to be completed in about a month. We just completed our LGBTQ mandatory training for the entire agency, so that was a huge achievement. And then what we currently are working on that's probably the most time-consuming is revising all our policies and procedures for the entire agency. And the reason why it takes so long is we do have to consult with HGEA on their suggestions on each of the policies. And so there is a time period of waiting, then receiving feedback, and then addressing it again. So currently, we're sending batches of our policies and procedures to HGA for approval, and then slowly we'll be working on that. So again, a lot of improvement in the last 2 years since that Wei Chen report came.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. Follow-up questions, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Really fast for the any of you. So to raise salaries and compensation for your staff, I mean, 2017, next year, we're working on fiscal year 27. So what if we squash a little bit the fees? That will help with the salaries, right? It didn't come from the commission, so I mean, you can say that one Lolo council member said it.
Something we could, we certainly would like to consider. I know one of the restrictions is that our investigators are in bargaining unit 3, which is, if you look, it's clerical, and there has been some interest with the neighbor islands also to, if we can move them to 4, I'm not sure about 13, 4. Okay. To bargaining unit 4, because they are, I mean, a lot of times that people have been concerned that, well, whatever Honolulu does is going to impact the neighbor islands, but they would be more than happy if, because this is, we all share the same type of investigators, if someone could figure out a way to raise compensation, that would be great. It would be, everyone would benefit from that. I know Kauai has experimented with premium overtime, some premium overtime pay for straight 8 work. I mean, I don't really understand. I'm not good at that kind of stuff. And has shared that information with us. And perhaps there is new leadership in Hawaii County. They, Gerald Takase retired end of this year, and they selected Stacey Walchin as the new director. Maybe that is something that we can talk about. Honolulu will be hosting, in addition to the licensee symposium, which will be April 29th, which everyone, all council members will be invited to attend. It's the thing that we do annually, where we provide information, helpful information and breakfast for our licensee base. But we're also hosting an annual conference, the annual state conference in November. And since all counties will be there, something we can bring out. In fact, we will be meeting later this month, the 4 counties. We do that quarterly to talk about that. So that's something we can certainly start to try to organize again. But I think the move to the bargaining unit 4 sounds the most promising because of the things I'm by no means a personnel or union expert. It's a little beyond my
I understand. And thank you for that. So reclassifying within the bargaining unit is necessary, but at the same time, because you are a special fund office and agency, the input of fees need to then match what you will have to compensate those staffs.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Thank you so much, Assistant Administrator, for being here, and your team. I think most of my questions were asked. I just will second. I was curious to know about the salaries, and so hopefully we can look into that because I know that you guys have been short, but the pay isn't very competitive, so it's hard to fill fill those positions and have them do the jobs that are necessary. But I
Yes.
want to thank you guys for all that you're doing. Thank you for being here and being patient with us. There being no further discussion, members, as another reminder, if you have any supplementary questions for the departments, please provide them to my office so we may compile them for the department or Managing Director's Office to respond. Once again, mahalo everyone for attending and participating in today's meeting. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.